morning, everyone, and happy Friday Eve. Happy Draft Day 2024 from the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley is here. Danny Mack is here. Matthew Rocchio is here. I'm Randy Carricker, and it's great to have you with us. And guys, I first of all wish you happy Draft Day. How we doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Fabulous.
Good. This used to be one of my favorite days of the year. Now I don't even care.
I don't really care. Matter of fact, that's my sick of it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We're doing sick of it today.
We
should mention that we have sick of it and the fight and a lot of things coming your way.
Greg Amsinger's coming your way. We're going to talk to St. Louis City SC coach Bradley Carnell. We're going to talk to our friend the H-Man, Howard Balzer, getting ready for the draft. 44 years ago, he was part of ESPN's first draft coverage. He and Mel Kiper Jr. So, pretty cool.
That is exciting.
I love those two guys when they were on together.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
And I always loved being with Joel Bushbaum. We used to have Joel Bushbaum at KMOX, and the famous picture of Joel is exactly what you thought he might be, which was in a tiny apartment in New York with books and research all behind him, literally stacked up, Brooke, all the way. I mean, you couldn't walk. You could not walk in his apartment because of all the research that he had done. And more times than not, he was right.
Right. So,
and he was tied in, too.
He knew what was going. He knew everything. One time, Steve Savard's buddies called in. Steve went to Northwest Missouri State, and Steve's buddies called into open line and asked Joel about Steve Savard, and he knew every aspect of Steve's career at Northwest Missouri State. One time, I'm doing a couple of show memories from Joel. Number one. The Cardinals drafted Jay Novacek, who went on to greatness with the Cowboys. And I said the Cardinals draft Jay Novacek, 6'3" and an eighth out of, I think, Wyoming. He's 6'3" and a quarter. Right. And then there was another time, this was before I got there, there was a running back out of Texas A&M named Curtis Dickey, who wound up getting drafted by the then Baltimore Colts. And somebody calls in and says, hey, Joel, football Cardinals were still here. Hey, Joel, what do you think of Curtis Dickey? Would he be a good fit for the Cardinals? And he goes, unfortunately, he's not quite as swift upstairs as he is downstairs.
I remember that. And you could ask him, so I would say, okay, if you have a question about the draft, just call in, gave the number. Somebody calls in, I hit the button, it's caller number 6, and usually the callers are about top-end picks. Where do you think they're going to wind up? Is it a first-round pick? Is it going to be first half, top 10, whatever? And he said, Joel, I went to, it was something like App State, and I'm curious about a right tackle that had a pretty good second half of the year. He said, oh, yeah, Joe Smith. And let me tell you about Joe Smith. He knew everybody. It was incredible.
I love that. And this year's NFL draft, does it feel like there's usually some sort of controversy? It seems like every single year going into the NFL draft. I don't think that there's any other big stories other than you talked about yesterday, Caleb Williams. It seems like people want to find different things to pick on him about. But other than that, I don't feel like there's much drama going into this NFL draft.
Something will happen.
They'll find it.
Yeah,
there's always something. Or a guy who was expected to go higher up in the draft gets dropped. We've seen that time and time again. Just even, what was that, last year with Will Levis? It was expected that Vegas thought that he was going to go higher in the draft, and then he was sitting around for a long time, and it didn't happen.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson sitting around for a long time.
The last 2 days before, right? Vegas made the odds for him, for Levis, the best odds to go first in the draft.
And look at the tape. I mean, I get worn out with, he had an interview or his Wonderlic wasn't this good. You find that out late. And I understand these guys got to fill. That's the other part. They got to fill between draft picks. And that's something that goes in, as you know, I almost said Grimsley. Might as well. You know about that, Grimsley. So I'm in a football mode here.
I love it.
But you got to fill. You got to, you got 3 minutes to fill, Grimsley. So you got to figure out how you're going to fill it, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know. This year, it doesn't feel like anything crazy might happen. Do you guys expect anything?
I think the craziest thing might be J.J. McCarthy. Maybe going in the top 3.
You think he goes to New England?
I would not be surprised.
That would be the craziest thing for me.
Yeah.
What if he had, and they were talking about it on the ESPN morning show, but if you had 6 QBs drafted in the first round, that would be shocking to me too.
But I could totally see it because you got the top 4, right? You've got, after Caleb Williams, you've got May, you've got Jaden Daniels, you've got McCarthy. I really like Michael Penix. I think he's really good. And Bo Nix, he might be older for, a draft pick, but still, he's He's effective, and he walks in. He's played football, college football, for 6 years. So he walks in, and he's able to be experienced on the first day that you play him.
I think anything that Dallas does with the pending free agents that they have, and if they draft a QB, now that'll just set fireworks off everywhere with Dak in his final year of his contract.
I wonder how bad, by the way, and we'll do more football later, how bad must Trey Lance be?
No kidding.
He was the third pick in the draft. Dallas has him, and nobody ever talks about him
ever
being an heir apparent for Dak Prescott.
But I guess, though, when the 49ers trade him, they saw something, and Dallas is saying, we really don't have a good backup, so let's just bring him in and see if we can get something out of him, and apparently they can't.
Yeah, right. So take a look at that. By the way, I'm going to take you a little bit behind the scenes here in the opening drive. As we look up on our YouTube TV in our studio, we are watching the Fast Lane from yesterday.
I was like, I don't know what I'm about to see here.
So there's Carrie and Rivs and Marshy and Anthony. They look great.
No.
And Rocc just changed it.
Has to ruin it. That was fun.
That was cool. Well, that was quick, too. Rocc went into immediate action.
Yeah. I was good luck for the Cardinals yesterday as they beat the Diamondbacks by a score of 5-1. Wasn't good luck for the first few innings against Jordan Montgomery, but I came around, kids. And the Cardinals come away with a victory. They figured out what the problem was, got rid of that, just weeded that out in the morning, and then come away with a victory in the afternoon. Great job by Nolan Arenado with an RBI hit. Contreras scoring on a wild pitch. Nolan Gorman hit the ball and drove home Mason Wynn. And then, by the way, Mason Wynn was off and running with the pitch, which was impressive. And then Newt with a 2-run double, almost a grand slam. And big 6th, 7th, and 8th for the Cardinals as they win at 5-1 over Arizona.
Randy, I'm starting to see a theme here because you also went to Sonny Gray's debut with the Cardinals, and he did really, really well. Maybe you need to go to more games, is what I'm saying.
That might be a possibility. I might.
How about Kyle Gibson? This is exactly what you signed him up for. And he now has 31 innings pitched on the season, 25 hits. He's given up 15 earned. He's walked 11, but struck out 20. He has a 4.35 ERA. This is basically exactly what you signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
He is a pitch maker. There are guys, and people in baseball love stuff. And there's a piece today at ESPN.com about arm injuries and max velocity and things like that. And there's still a place in the sport for a guy who just makes pitches. There is no good reason for Kyle Gibson to have allowed only 1 run yesterday. But he made pitches when he needed to make pitches and got outs when he needed to get outs. And he winds up giving you 6 innings. He walks 2. He strikes out 6, allows 1 run on 5 hits. And it wasn't because he was throwing 100. It was because he was commanding the zone and making pitches against the Arizona hitters when he needed to.
I think this is a microcosm of what we're going to see all season, meaning what we saw in the homestand. Some real good highs, some really low lows, and just buckle up. I think it's going to be a roller coaster of a season, and that's just the way it is. And it's predicated, at least in my opinion, on the big guys hitting, or coming up with a timely hit here or there, and maybe generating some offense when you don't have the bats going. Like in the bottom of the 6th yesterday, you had Donovan with a single, Contreras a double, Arenado a single to tie it up, wild pitch to Goldie, another run scores. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way that things are going to have to go if you're not going to hit. You got to find ways to generate some offense. And after watching now, 22 games or 23 games or 20 games, whatever the hell it is.
We're 11-14.
Okay, this is going to be a roller coaster of a season.
It really is. And also you have the addition, too, of the lethal bullpen and that trio of JoJo Romero, Andrew Kittredge, and Ryan Helsley. When they come out there, it just feels like you know that they're going to win.
Right.
They were able to finish it off. And Helsley pitching in the 9th, even though it was not a save situation, which I think was important to note there. But that trio is just really working out well for the Cardinals bullpen.
And before the game yesterday, the Cardinals did send down Jordan Walker. Obviously, that talked about yesterday on the station. We'll talk about it later on. But Jordan Walker gets sent down along with Zack Thompson. And the Cardinals bring back John King. And Jose Fermin is on your roster after hitting .350.
He was hitting
5-0 at Memphis. Yeah.
He was. Now, the Jordan Walker situation, I feel like a lot of people are split on this because obviously he was not performing well to start the season. He didn't look great, and so then you send him down. But then it makes it feel like last season, too. 2 different situations, of course, but you sent him down last season when he was doing decently at the plate, and this year he was struggling. But honestly, the whole team collectively has struggled offensively.
So does that mean the approach from the Cardinals is one size fits all? Or are you trying to help the individual based on their skill set and what they bring to the table? I also think, have you overhyped prospects? I mean, Jordan Walker was the number one prospect in baseball and now is going in the wrong direction. And then you have to wonder about the disconnect as to why things are not going in the right direction for some of these top prospects over the years. And I can give you a list of guys, pitchers and hitters, to where there just seems to be a disconnect at the major league level to where they're not performing.
Last year, heading into the season.
And don't you think that's fair?
100%, yeah. Top 5 prospects in baseball. Gunnar Henderson, who's kicking butt with Baltimore. Corbin Carroll, who won Rookie of the Year, was in the World Series, and he's leveled off a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but he's fine with Arizona. Francisco Alvarez, who was playing great before he got hurt, the Mets catcher. Walker, and then Anthony Volpe, who they're comparing to Derek Jeter with the Yankees. So 4 of the top 5 are in the majors, and at different levels, they're thriving. Our guy, they say, well, we want him to change his swing. Why did they not figure that out when they had him in 2020 at the camp in Springfield during COVID, or 2021 when he was playing in the low minors, or 2022 when he was at Double-A? Why was Jordan Walker, why was this flaw in his swing not identified in the 2 full years they had him in the minors?
I don't know what the answer would be with that. I do know, though, that the hitting philosophy in terms of what I'm seeing is a disconnect. And so is it one? I'm going to go back to this. Is it one size fits all instead of working on the individual and taking their skill set and trying to amplify what they bring to the table? I think it's a legitimate question. Why is there the disconnect? I don't know, but there's something just quite not going right.
There is a disconnect there, and you're concerned about Jordan Walker's regression, but just even going at this whole lineup as a whole has been struggling offensively. We can go through everything about how they're bottom in the league, in the entire league, in a lot of major hitting categories, and that's an issue. So then you do start to question, is this a philosophy thing that is going on currently with this group?
What I'm concerned about is when you send down a young player, and he's only 22 years old, he'll be 23, I believe, next month. He has 1 extra base hit, 3 for his last 27, is between the ears. And sometimes you get paralysis by analysis, and that's a term that you hear a lot in Major League Baseball because there's just so much information that's given to a player. But I don't want him to be discouraged. I mean, you hope that he takes the advice of others or takes the news and says, you're right, I need to go down to the minor leagues and work on things and come back and be the player that you expect. I just didn't anticipate this after the way I saw him finish up last year.
And my hope would be that he's maximized wherever he winds up being. And he is, like you said, Dan, only 22. But it would be a shame to have a guy that clearly has talent if his talent was wasted by a franchise that had not developed. Let's be honest about it. When's the last time the Cardinals developed a really good hitter? They aren't very good at it.
Maybe Mason Wynn. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't regress like a lot of them have. But I hope that when they trade him to Toronto for a middle reliever and a minor league starter, that he winds up thriving.
No.
Come on, Randall.
No.
Have a positive outlook with this.
Oh, man, he'd really hit in that lineup. I like that.
Yeah.
That was a weird crack. That
That was somebody that didn't like what you were about to say, Rocc, and they just cut your mic.
So
my apologies, John.
So and we'll talk more about Jordan Walker, and we'll welcome your takes on Jordan Walker, your opinions via the text line later on. And, of course, you can always leave us a mic drop here on the 101 ESPN app. We'd love to hear your voice. So we're off and running here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got Sick of It here on the opening drive. Thursday morning, time for Sick of It here on 101 ESPN. You can text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. You going to do it later, Dan?
Let's see. Let me think. It's 7:18. Let's just knock it out. Yo-ho.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
there we go.
there you go.
Okay, we do welcome your text. Kids, I'm sick of baseball not expanding. We have some cities that we can expand to. We could go to Nashville. We could go to Charlotte. We could go to Montreal. We can go to Portland. We need 32 teams in baseball because I'm sick of the Cardinals being in fifth. I want to be in fourth.
Well, the other thing, too, and I'm not touching that, Randall, and I know where you're going.
I was wondering where you were going because you gave us a little preview beforehand.
You got to realign, too. You could realign, and I think that would be good for baseball and equal, do a West, Midwest. You want to do Southwest? You could do it and then West Coast teams and make it happen. Here's the question. Where would you like to go? If you had to add one city, I would love to see him go back to Montreal.
I would, too.
Montreal makes a lot of sense.
Nashville is the hot place.
I think
Absolutely.
that it seems like everything's happening in Nashville, and there's been a lot of talk about that happening there. So I think it would be a great town. Vanderbilt baseball, that's what introduced me to my baseball fandom, was being a big fan of Vanderbilt baseball. So you already have a big culture there. Mookie Betts from Nashville, I'm sure he would be a big part of bringing that in.
And the Charlotte Metro, by the way, has passed St. Louis, has more people than St. Louis. The Charlotte Metro can handle a baseball team, too.
In Montreal, they played at Olympic Stadium, and I'm not sure how any player that was a home player lasted more than 3 years after playing on concrete.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible.
I thought it was, okay. It was a bad turf and a bad stadium.
It was awful.
I thought it was last 3 years after just being in the same city as Shea Paris for a Major League Baseball.
That was a hell of a place. At least I was told that.
We've heard, yeah.
So, guys, this is what I'm sick of. I am sick of shows. So the other day, I'm sure you guys saw everything that happened in the Yankees and A's game. Just 5 pitches into Monday's game against the Oakland Athletics, Aaron Boone was tossed out by Hunter Wendelstedt. Apparently, Boone was warned about chirping prior to that, and there was further chirping, but here's the thing. It didn't come from Boone. It came from a fan that was right behind him in the dugout, and so he tossed Boone out. Wendelstedt countered with this because, of course, he was asked, and he said he heard something that warranted an ejection from the far end of the dugout away from where Boone was standing. It had nothing to do with his area, but he's the manager of the Yankees, so he's the one that has to go. Look, I am sometimes okay with some of the battles between the managers and the umps. It can be interesting. It can be entertaining. But when it's something as bad as that, something has to be done about it. It just is such a bad look, and you have to be able to say, okay, I was wrong in this situation.
Let's say this, and I believe this, the umpires are incredible at the major league level at what they do. They don't miss a lot of calls. They don't. To your point, though, Brooke, is that when you eject a manager or a player, you better be sure it's the right guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I had a real problem with that. Nobody is there to see an umpire. I haven't had somebody say, man, I paid my $25 to go watch this umpire. He was really great behind the plate. That's expected of you. You're expected to be pretty good behind the plate at the major league level. I'll tell you the other thing that bothers me, too, is that if players are subject to talk about the good and bad after a game, I don't like just a pool reporter going down and getting a statement from an umpire. I think they should be held accountable as well with egregious. And I mean, it's got to be really bad. If you're in New York and you're kicking out the manager, there's a lot to that. That's a major market with a fan base that is rabid and they love their Yankees. I think an umpire should be at least subject to some questioning beyond just sitting there and saying, I'm going to give out a statement. I don't like that.
Here's another alarming thing. There is one umpire school that is recognized by Major League Baseball
Hunter
to fill
Wendelstedt.
Major League Baseball jobs. It's the Wendelstedt Umpire School. So here you have a guy that runs the school to feed Major League Baseball their umpires who's saying, I don't care who said it. You're out.
And it's just such a bad look. Do you also think, and I understand that you kind of want it to go away, right? You don't want to keep harping on this and making it a bigger deal, even though I thought it was a pretty big deal because it's just such a bad look. Should Major League Baseball even say something?
Well, I think on the flip side, Major League Baseball could say that Aaron Boone has been ejected a ton. And maybe Hunter Wendelstedt was thinking, here we go. I'm going down that road again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to deal with Aaron Boone and his chirping the whole time. I mean, he gets ejected a lot. He's got a hot temper.
18, I think, in the last 4 years. And he's got the most in baseball since he became a manager.
I would imagine that was part of what happened. The leeway, the leash was short with him.
But, Brooke, to your question, if I'm Major League Baseball, he gets a series vacation. No, we don't have to announce it. We don't have to say anything. But Hunter Wendelstedt, there has to be a level of accountability for that sort of action. And so I would suspend him. I would put him on vacation. I wouldn't say anything about it, but he would not do a series. And then I'd ask, and I think that Aaron Boone's a reasonable guy, but I would ask Aaron Boone, hey, should this guy be umpiring your games anymore? And find out what the Yankees think.
217 says, you want us umpires to report after games, Danny, but you all don't have to sit there and be heckled by fans after every call that you don't see. That's part of the job.
You signed up for it.
Yeah. I mean, you signed up for it. And I also said to the 217, I believe that umpires are exceptional at what they do.
Yes.
In this case, I just think he made a mistake.
Yep.
Sick of the buildup of the draft. I'm sick of it. Every time I turn on ESPN or I turn on a different station, I'm getting the buildup of the draft. I'm over it. I'm done. I want it over tonight. I've had enough, and it's time to move on.
It feels like you start grasping at straws with certain stories. Because when we're talking about the controversy going in, there usually is some controversy going in. So then it almost seems like people are making things up to be worried or freaking out about going into it.
I'm going to counter my own thing, though. I sit there. If Mel Kiper pops on, you're watching. I'm watching.
Yeah.
I am watching him.
I texted Michelle and saying, crazy what the most powerful league did to disenfranchise us. We have one draft segment today. We had another one this week, and those are the first two draft segments we've done. She said, that is shocking because we, ESPN National, are wall-to-wall on the whole network. Radio, TV, digital, nothing else exists for us today.
Nothing else.
And I understand that for today. It's just the buildup has just been remarkable in how much they do. And this has been going on for 2 months.
Yeah. Well, it's the NFL is kind of like Devlin McGregor. They're a monster.
They are. And I'm not touching the first part of that. I'm sick of Randy
Matthew?
with
Matthew
some of
knows?
these crazy things. All right, Matthew, what do you got?
What is it? Tell me.
Why do I know that?
We got to get that button working. Is it?
No, it's,
Oh, let's fix your microphone.
This might be a blessing in disguise. Sorry, Matthew.
Take
it or leave it. This is a blessing in disguise.
So-
Matthew can't say anything.
So,
I'm sick of having to press 50 million buttons. Devlin McGregor. Why do I know that name? Is it from? It's.
So you've got Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Girard who's sitting at a table in a conference room at the U.S.
it's
Marshal's
the
office in
fugitive.
Chicago.
The Fugitive. That's. I was like, you said the name, and I'm like, I know he's making a name for an 80s or an early 90s movie. And I'm like, I know. I'm picturing it in my head. Devlin McGregor.
Devlin McGregor is a monster. And, so that's what the NFL is. They're just like Devlin
I
McGregor.
didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
I don't care. Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Girard was, he was Hunter Wendelstedt before Hunter Wendelstedt was.
It's a good way to put it.
I don't care.
Danny or Brooke, you want to read this one? Okay. I'm sick of having to press 50 million buttons at the gas pump before I can actually get gas. No, I'm not a loyalty member. No, I do not have a promo code. And no, I don't want to buy two monsters for the price of one. Just let me get gas.
Mobile on the run, kids.
I don't mind
Mobile
it
on
now
the run forwards.
because the weather is fine. When it's the dead of winter, I can't stand it. I'm with this texter.
I just put my card in, take it out.
Where do you go there? You don't have any buttons, extra buttons to push.
Well,
You want a
because
car
then,
wash?
Extra button.
Yes,
I
the
have to
car
press
wash.
The don't want
It's
a car
like,
wash
no.
button, and then afterwards I press I don't want a receipt, and I'm done.
Okay.
And I have to press obviously the octane. You have to press that one, but yeah, I don't get the do you want to buy two things or anything like that. So I feel pretty good about my friends over there at Mobile on the Run.
I'm sick of Randy's insensitivity and his cutting remarks about OJ and Tommy Pham.
Oh, come on. Usually you're a pretty sharp texter.
What a great text that is.
But you know
Phenomenal.
what? I'm glad that you took a stab at it.
It's once a week, though, Randy, that you're going down this road. Once a week minimum.
Danny, you're trying to slice into my programming.
The over-under is set at 1.5 on these, and I take the over every week. We go to ESPN Bet. That's one of the things that the national show is doing is ESPN bet on how many quarterbacks are going to be drafted in the first round.
Above 3.5.
I'm willing to do these jokes. I'm willing to stick my neck out.
Oh, Randy.
Awful.
Randy, you put the gloves on and you do the dirty work.
There's
if the glove doesn't fit,
Howard Balzer is coming up.
Sick of it. I'm sick of seeing attendance drop across Major League Baseball. They better get a grip on accessibility of their product before the bottom drops out and this sport becomes irrelevant.
It's actually false.
Yesterday's game was 2 hours and 21 minutes. It was action-packed. There were a ton of kids at the game. And the big thing that baseball has to do is they have to cultivate the fan base with the new rules in place.
I think it was either last week or the week before, there was a report that came out that baseball attendance has jumped for the first time since like 2017. So it is actually going up a little bit.
The games are accessible, right? The price is not high. The games are reasonably at a reasonable length. There's much more action now because of the stolen base and because of running. The Mason Wynn run yesterday was fabulous. That was my kind of baseball. He takes off, and I thought he would go to third, and then he rounds third, and it was fantastic. Great job by Gorman. It was just cool.
Maybe they're also speaking to, well, I think that one, it is affordable to go to a game because they have so many different ticket options, and there's a lot of different options. You talked about how you can bring in your own food. I want to do that this year, by the way. I was thinking about that the other day where I want to bring in a cooler and really stack this thing up, but that's besides the point. But also on the TV access side, maybe that's what they're speaking to. It does need to be more accessible for everyone. I just hope that eventually we get to that point where there's no more blackouts.
Yeah, the TV side is awful.
Yeah.
It's terrible. They got to figure. That's, to me, the number one thing that they have to figure out in baseball.
Yeah, and we don't hear that about hockey. We don't hear that about basketball. We don't hear that about football, obviously.
NFL.
Yeah, why is it that we have blackouts in baseball? It just makes no sense.
So, Randy, you were at the game yesterday, and I asked you if there were a lot of kids at the ballpark, and the 636 says yesterday was weather day for the kids. Lots of field trips, and over 6,000 students came down to Busch Stadium.
I went up to the upper deck. My buddy Big Frank had to pick up a bobblehead from the guest relations up on the 4th level.
What bobblehead?
It was Jeff Suppan.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
And so we were walking around the upper deck, and it was packed with kids who were having a great time, by the way. Because kids, they like to eat, right? And
get a hot dog, a Coke.
They were getting hot. Here's one thing that Frank brought up, and it makes all the sense in the world. If Costco can sell a hot dog and a soda for $1.50, why can't baseball?
Oh, okay.
Well, part of your ticket, depending on the package that you get, is included in, you can get a $6 ticket, and you can get that.
But here's the thing. The hot dog and a soda, though, soda's like $6, and a hot dog's like $5. Why not, especially maybe 16 and under, whatever, or just do it. Just sell how much do hot dogs cost? Sell a hot dog and a soda for $1.50.
You know who loved a good ballpark hot dog was Tim McCarver.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Before every game, either I'd go out and get him one or somebody'd have to go get him one. And he'd say, I got to get that hot dog in me before the game starts and get some mustard on it.
Was Tim a devotee of the Dodger dog?
No, and I'm not either.
I'm not either.
I think it's kind of like a boiled hot dog, and I'm not a fan of a boiled hot dog. Give me a ballpark hot dog.
On a grill, right?
That's what I'm saying.
I hate to say this, and it's changed now. But back in the day, the best back in my day, let me put it this way: 40 years in June since the Sandberg game. Back in the day, Wrigley had the best dogs in baseball.
Disagree,
Really?
Randy.
They were great.
We Stadium. That is the best hot dog going.
Now Busch Stadium has the best hot dogs.
It was the best then, and it's the best now.
Well, we got to do in June. We got to do something on the Sandberg game. Maybe get Willie on and get
that'd be
Sandberg
fun.
on, wouldn't it?
Costas.
Yeah.
I was going to say food. I thought we can do it. We can do a food segment.
Hot dogs that day. Yeah, we'll do that. That was 40 years ago, June 24th, I think it was.
And they gave Willie, I think, the MVP or the star of the game or whatever.
Yep.
And Sandberg hits this bomb, a couple of bombs, and off of Bruce Sutter.
Two of them off of Bruce Sutter. So, be darned. That was the Jack call after the second one.
Yeah.
Oh, be darned. Splitters that didn't split. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
And your microphone's working. Thank you very much for your text. Greg Amsinger next time, 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals take their series against the Diamondbacks with a 5-1 win yesterday. Kyle Gibson gets off to a rough start, allowing one early, but he settled down and goes 6 innings pitched, 5 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts as he gets his second win of his Cardinals career. In the NHL Playoffs, the Bruins take a 2-1 lead with a 4-2 win over the Maple Leafs. The Vegas Golden Knights are up 2-0 on the Stars after a 3-1 win last night, and in overtime, the Kings tie up their series 1 apiece with the Oilers as a 5-4 final. And in the NBA playoffs, also tying up the series at 1-1. The Heat with a surprising 111-101 victory over the Celtics. And the Oklahoma City Thunder take a dominating 2-0 lead with a 124-92 victory over the Pelicans last night. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Greg Amsinger with us on the opening drive. He, of course, is the lead anchor for MLB Network. He is a product of the Lindenwood University. He is a native of St. Louis. He's a Cardinal fan, and he's an avid golfer. High of 58 today, where Greg resides in New Jersey. I wonder if he's going to hit the golf course. Greg, good morning. How you doing?
I'm not doing too well because of all the great accolades you just mentioned. I'm also not getting any younger, Randy. So today is the 6th consecutive day I'm playing golf. And I feel like, thank you.
Yep.
I used to be able to do this, but I feel like I'm Jerome Bettis getting out of bed. Like I feel like I rushed for 2,000 yards and I had 300-pound grown men hitting me in the knees. I am broken. My body is in full pain.
So you're kind of like Nelly Corda. It's, she wins 5 in a row, and then all of a sudden she doesn't want to go this weekend because she's worn out.
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah, I jumped in the pool. I jumped in the pond after I won, exactly like she did. Maybe I caught a cold. I don't know. But I'm just mid-40s now, Randy. Everything doesn't work the same. Kids, enjoy being young.
Yeah.
Don't ever grow up. Don't ever grow up.
Yeah. Hey, well, before we get to the Cardinals, a lot going on here. Any concerns about Paul Skeens, the Pirates' top pick in the draft last year? He allowed a run last night, and so I'm wondering if they're concerned about him.
I got to tell you, the Pittsburgh Pirates have a monster on the way. Watching this guy when I was getting ready for the draft, he's everything you dream of. I mean, he's the best pitching prospect since Steven Strasburg stole all the headlines coming out of San Diego State. He's the real deal. He's easy 102. He can manipulate a baseball however he wants. You throw him with this kid Jones, who's striking everybody out, the 6'1" right-hander. Then you got Keller. Now you got 3 legit guys, top of the rotation. There aren't many teams in baseball with 3 flamethrowers like this. So the Pirates are on their way, folks. They're on their way.
Oh, that's always great to hear because we have everything going just swell over here with the Cardinals. Of course, a win yesterday, but prior to the game, they sent down Jordan Walker and Zack Thompson to the minors. What do you think about that move, Greg?
Brooke, I've been thinking a lot about Ron Washington and what he's trying to do with the Angels, or why would the Angels go get a guy like Ron Washington? He is an expert in continuing to develop young talent at the big league level. He did it with the Atlanta Braves most recently, but he's done his entire career. That is an actual art. It is a skill set that a coaching staff needs to have, because you have minor leaguers who play at a high level. They're being developed at the minor league level with their minor league coaches and evaluators, and then they push them up to where every game really actually counts. And yes, you put your Jackson Holiday in the 9th spot. You put your Zack and Neto in the 9th spot. They're the rookie. You have big leaguers at the big league level. But you still have to toe the line between winning right now and developing your young talent. And right now, it doesn't look like the Cardinals are thriving at developing their young talent at the big league level, which was a mainstay attribute that they had. It was part of the MO of St. Louis Cardinal baseball. They were kind of the Atlanta Braves before the Atlanta Braves right now. It's what they were known for. They would spend smart money on veteran players, whether they're position players or pitchers, and then they would always develop that farm system talent and do it at a high level at the big league level. So to see Jordan Walker, can't miss prospect, struggle, no home runs yet. Zack Thompson's a first-round pick. The first-rounders have to thrive. And what I don't understand, and I've had this argument so many times with my friends at MLB Network, and they're very, like, staunch big leaguers. Like, if you can't handle the big leagues, you got to be sent down. I mean, kids today are different than they were back in 1995 and 2005, right? They're different. And I just don't know if – I'll just use Jackson Holliday, for example. He's always been the best player of every team he's ever been on, right? He's always played shortstop on every team he's ever been on, right? Now, he's the number one pick. Now, he's no longer like every other minor league player in your system. He's not. So he has been invested in, like $8 million signing bonus, and he's got the name that everybody knows. So he's got pressure like that. So to make him comfortable, we're going to make him comfortable. We're going to bring him up to the big leagues. We're going to point at this kid named Gunnar and say he's better at shortstop than you. You're going to play second base. So now you're going to play a position that you only started playing last year, a few games in the minor leagues. You're going to go there, and then instead of batting in the first inning, we're going to make you wait an hour for your first at-bat. We're going to bat you ninth. Because we care about you, we want to make you comfortable. We're going to do something that you've never done your entire life in baseball to make you comfortable. And then when you strike out, you have another hour to wait for your next at-bat. This is because we care about you. And then tomorrow when you show up, you're going to look at the lineup and see that you're batting ninth again, because psychologically that's good for you, right? That makes you feel comfortable, right? Because that worked for you your entire baseball life, right? No, what? You've never done that before. Well, we care about you. You're going to hit ninth. This happened to Jordan Walker. We're going to bet you seventh. We're going to bet you eighth. At some point, you gotta sacrifice to get young players going. Get them going. See what they got. They didn't do it with Jordan Walker, and it bothered me batting the lower part of the order every single day. They're not doing it with the Baltimore Orioles, and I just think that developing young talent is still a skill, and some teams are good at it, other teams are not.
I am curious if the guys on the set talk about or have theories or look at the philosophies of the Cardinals in terms of it's not just Jordan Walker, it's Paul Goldschmidt. Arenado got off to a slow start. There are others in this lineup. Brendan Donovan has struggled at times. If they look at that, Greg, and I know this may be a tough question to answer, but if they think that there is a theory as to why collectively this team offensively has gotten off to a slow start.
I love teams that have continuity, and the guys at MLB Network love the old school idea of showing up to the ballpark and you know where you're going to hit the lineup. They're all kind of old school in that way. But in the modern game, unless you have a Ricky Henderson, then you know is going to bat leadoff every day, a Ronald Acuna Jr., who you know is going to bat leadoff every day. If it's not working for a week, let's mix it up. But to have the continuity of a lineup, and I know that recently the Cardinals had a walk-off because you saw Goldschmidt batting fifth when he hit the walk-off home run. There's no reason that it can't happen more and more and more. I mean, I would love to see – I wish I could have seen Victor Scott for a week lead off, hit bat first, drop a bunt down, and have that threat at the top of the order, bat Jordan Walker second. And see what happens. I just see what happens. They're all big leaguers. They're there for a reason. They're super talented players. But it's this loyalty to, Goldschmidt's batting third. You're going to have Brendan Donovan, because he can walk, is going to bat lead off, even though he's not stealing you a bag. Just this continuity in the lineup. I'm happy to see Contreras batting second now. But there's no reason that if it's not working for a series, that you don't mix it up. And it's, to me, it's an opportunity to get a Mason Wynn in the top of the order. And let's see what that exciting young talent can do. He's been swinging a terrific bat so far in 2024. I just think that in the modern game, to have this continuity for a lineup that is the second fewest home runs in baseball, that doesn't make any sense to me. Let's roll the dice and see what we got, man. There's no reason Brendan Donovan's got to be the leadoff guy every single game, no matter who's starting. There's a way to do this to reignite. And again, the key here with so many young players on this team, and I know Goldie and Arenado, I really don't focus on them. They're going to eventually get it going. You just got to believe in the baseball card. But the young guys got to get going, because you don't know if they will. So you got to figure out ways to get that flame sparked. And at the moment, most of them haven't sparked yet.
Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, with us on 101 ESPN. So, based on what you have said here so far, I think that you will agree with me, but I want you to answer this question. Is what we grew up with, the Cardinal way of Whitey Herzog and Tony La Russa a thing of the past? Is the Cardinal way gone?
I don't want to say it's gone. I had a conversation about this with Albert Pujols, and he said he batted seventh one time. He batted seventh one time, and then they moved him up in the order. But they also messed around with his defensive position. He played some third base. Then they put Polanco in left, and they realized they were a better team if Polanco played third, so he went out to left, and he did whatever needed to be done for the team. But again, he was the only young guy on that team. He was the only guy. The Cardinals really never – you have to go back in the Wayback Machine, and you guys know this when they brought up Gilkey, Langford, and Jordan to have a lot of young guys at one time. Cardinals have always been a win-now team, so they haven't been littered with a handful of youngsters at the same time. So this is sort of a unique set of circumstances. It's a bit extreme, and if you went back to the early 90s, there were people saying maybe the Cardinals have lost the Cardinal way because they were winning. They weren't in the mix to be a playoff team. But I still think those players back then were given the opportunity to thrive and be comfortable and play their game. I'm just wondering if the pressure to win right now is holding that ideology back and not allowing these youngsters to be themselves and to let them know that we're building around them. It still feels like to me that every game is an AAU basketball tryout. And we're going to see who's going to make the team next week. And that's not going to win in Major League Baseball. That doesn't make the marathon fun, and no one can survive and end up in the playoffs that way.
I look at this team, and I do have my question marks with it, but I do believe the track record of some of these guys, it's going to come back. And the pitching staff has been what you expected for the most part, but you have to believe, if you're a Cardinal fan, that some of the guys, to your point, the back of the baseball card is going to show up. And I looked at, like, the game yesterday. Greg, they're going to have to slug, and they've put it in – well, let me rephrase it. They have put a lot on Goldie Arenado to slug, young guys to step up, and then have mediocre pitching. I still think that's the formula for this team to win.
Yeah, it sounds very aggressive to say mediocre pitching, but that's based on other teams in the division and what they're going to put on display. Yes, that's exactly right. There's not going to be the swing and miss that other teams have. I just mentioned what the Pirates have and what they're going to have at the top of the rotation when Skeens gets called up. Cardinals don't have that on the way. I mean, Tink Hence, we're all excited about him, but I don't think it's nowhere near the same level as what Paul Skeens is. Cincinnati Reds have such high-level players, but that's another great example of Ellie De La Cruz. You're putting all of your eggs in the basket of a guy that struck out at a historic level in the second half of the season last year. But they told him, no matter what you do, Ellie, you're staying in the big leagues, man. We're just going to hitch our wagon to you. Don't look over your shoulder. You're not going back to the minor leagues. We believe in you. We're going to move you up and down the order to see what works. You're playing shortstop every single day. That was going to happen when Matt McClain was healthy. So they committed to the young star. I just don't feel the same commitment. I know Jordan Walker got an ample opportunity. He got a lot of at-bats. But to me, I want to see him fail hitting second and third. I do. That's what he's used to doing. He's always been the mainstay bat in a lineup his entire life. I want to see this kid be the star and build your whole team around him, because 6'6" with that athleticism is hard to find. I think the Cardinals got to recognize the talent is there. They have unique young talent. And Goldschmidt's great, Arenado's great, but they're in their 30s. They can't drag this team to the playoffs. They cannot. The young players have to be great for them to win.
Greg, one quick thing. The Dodgers have this up-and-comer. He had 3 doubles last night. Looks pretty good.
Shohei's unbelievable. I was reading that Dave Roberts pulled him aside and wanted to give him an approach when there are guys on base. I'm like, yo, bro, come on, man. I love you, Dave. I love you. But this guy, first off, I don't even think I think he zoned out the second he was trying to give him advice. If I was Shohei, I think I would zone out the second anybody gave me advice. He's on another planet good at everything he does. So, look, at the end of the day, Shohei Ohtani is going to hit 40-plus homers, driving over 100 runs, steal around 30 bases. and he hasn't pitched this year. So, I mean, come on, man. This is the greatest baseball talent of our lifetime. And to watch it right now, I used to tell my little brothers this all the time. Now, again, I'm a sports freak, but when Michael Jordan was playing, I would make them stop what they were doing. I go, we got to watch Michael Jordan. Hey, Greg, you make it out to be a homework assignment. I'm like, it is, because you're going to regret not watching Michael Jordan when he's not here anymore. He's the greatest player of all time. Shohei Ohtani is in that category for baseball. He just is, especially when he's doing both.
How many days in a row of golf is the goal?
So I work tomorrow. I'm off today. Today's 36 holes, man.
Okay, good.
36, and my body's broken. So I don't know. Tomorrow I'm taking a day off.
All right. Have a great time. Enjoy yourself. Thanks as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. I'll try to avoid the big number.
All right, brother. Have a good time. Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, with us on 101 ESPN.
Disagree to a point about moving guys in the lineup. I think that you protect younger players by putting them lower. Now, if you get 3/4 into the season and the top of your lineup is not performing, then, it's time to move those guys up. But I like the idea of easing some of these players into the lineup.
I agree with him on the point, though, of just keeping the guys up here and letting them work through adversity. If you talk about Jordan Walker and how he's able to handle adversity, and that's one of the reasons why you think so highly of him, then you have to let him continue to work through it at the major league level.
And Chris Duncan always talked about how much easier life was when they would put him in the 2-hole in front of Albert.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I understand what you're saying. I just think, like, if you're a young player and it's your first year in the major leagues, and let's face it, these guys are rushed to the big leagues. I want the fewest amount of pressure that I can possibly put on a young player.
Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It. Get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho! TIOLI next on 101 ESPN.
or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Time for TIOLI here on 101 ESPN. Brooke, Dan, Matthew, and Randy. Guys, between 2014 and 2016, the Cardinals sent Randall Grichuk to Memphis and brought him back 5 different times. And then 2018 traded him to Toronto. Take it or leave it, Jordan Walker is Randall Grichuk.
I'm going to leave that.
I'm going to leave that.
I think he's better than that. You have to remember that he is, when he was in the major leagues, he still was the 4th youngest player in the big leagues. I mean, that's something that you have to continue with your development. I just hope this doesn't bury him, and he goes in with an open mind to correct some of the deficiencies that he has. And, across Major League Baseball, there is a level of pushing these prospects, and you just have to wonder if he's been pushed a little too much and hasn't made that adjustment all the way to Major League Baseball.
And Grichuk was the same age, by the way, the first time he got sent down.
Really?
Yeah.
It can happen.
He was 22. So, yeah. And with the Cardinals, it certainly can happen.
That's the thing, is that I hope that he doesn't get buried as well. What about Zack Thompson? And we can discuss this in this next segment, but what about Zack Thompson and how he's feeling in this situation? Because he also has been pulled around a lot.
He's been jerked around. Yeah.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes. All
I
right.
think the back and forth has affected him. But, the lack of velocity is what concerns me. I mean, his lack of velocity, he's topping out 91.
Yeah, he'll be fine now that he's at Memphis.
All right. We'll find out.
Figure it out. Take it or leave it. So some names are floating out there for the new Utah hockey team. I'm not going to go through the full list. I'm just going to give you the big hits, okay, in my opinion. And so you have the Utah Mammoth, the Utah Ice, boo, Utah Yetis, Utah Venom, and then my favorite, personally, the Utah Outlaws. Take it or leave it. It should be the Utah Outlaws, just because there's many different layers of why this could be funny.
I like your idea. I like your thought process, but I'm thinking from a marketing perspective, the Yetis.
The Yetis.
Be a Yeti giveaway every night.
Yes, there would.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I was going with Outlaws because a lot of things are outlawed there in Utah.
Boy, like dancing?
Yeah.
Me and Jamie figured this out. You go with the Blizzard. You have the Yeti as your mascot, and to create some marketing and some in-game things, you just have the mascot be a bleached version of Gritty.
Oh, nice.
All right.
You just take you take the Gritty costume, just run it through a washer a bunch of times, and then right there you have an rivalry with Gritty with the mascots. That's marketing. That's social media right there for you.
The worst one, sorry, Dan, just real quick. The worst one, Utah Hockey Club. What? Why?
Sounds like soccer.
Washington football team was so popular.
Take it or leave it.
Commanders.
The Cardinals are 27th in runs per game. Before the season is over, take it or leave it, they'll be in the top half.
I'm going to leave that.
I don't leave that.
Yeah. I'm going to say they'll be in the 20 range. Last year they were 19th. I'm going to say 19, 20, 21 again.
So they were 19th last year, you said? Yep. I think it's got to be better, man. They can't continue with guys that have a track record, and maybe I'm wrong because one is 36, the other one turns 34, and I'm talking about Goldie and Arenado. They got to be better. I just think that they will before it's all said and done.
Hope so. Matthew, let's get a couple of texts in here.
Take it or leave it. It should be the Yetis because then you'd have the Kraken and the Yeti in the same division. I like that. I like that.
Why don't you read some of the other ones? No, I'm kidding. You don't have to.
Take it or leave it. The Utah Yohos.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good Lord, no.
Take it or leave it. The Utah Storm and Mormons.
Yes.
Take it or leave
Know
it.
your audience.
Take it or leave it.
That's the thing.
The Utah Polygamists.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that one.
Salt Lake
All right,
Sister
we-
Wives.
The Salt Lake Sister Wives. Oh,
Rush
that's
Hour
good.
Reset.
I'll stop.
Salt Lake Sister Wives is good. Oh man. Take it or leave it.
Balzer.
Mason Wynn has shown enough offensive production
Dan, it's the
to
first
where
time
we
you have to
need.
speak to me.
Take it or leave it. Put Mason Wynn in the 2-hole.
Leave it. Lead
We'll
off.
leave that.
Yeah.
You have him lead off and have Donovan hit second.
No
I
faith
actually-
in Donovan getting better?
Donovan's terrific. He's your best player.
You can make a case for it.
You guys you hit him second. Win first, him second. He gets his bat on the ball. He's got great bat-to-ball skills. He's your best player, so hit him second. If that's what they want to do, and they always talk about that, you want to have your best hitter hitting second. Hit Donovan second.
I actually like the idea of just shaking up a little bit
Me too.
and doing that.
Yeah.
Matthew?
Sorry. We have a positive Mizzou fan, and that really just kind of shook me to my core. I didn't know that existed. Take it or leave it. If Drink keeps recruiting and landing impact portal transfers the way he currently is, he'll have Mizzou in uncharted territory, a perennial top 10 to 15 team.
Oh, take it.
Keep dreaming.
I think after last year, that's kind of the expected way that a fan base goes into this and how they feel. I agree with that. I want to take that.
Nothing has shaken up college football like the NIL has. And you can buy a team now. And Mizzou used to get beat out because other franchises had more money. Now Mizzou has as much money as anybody does, and they can buy the players necessary to get them into that range, into the top 10 on a regular basis. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, have the Cardinals mishandled what they've called their best prospect since Albert Pujols? That's next on 101 ESPN.
that day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
In St. Louis, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. For the second time in 2 years, the Cardinals have sent Jordan Walker down to Memphis. Of course, last year he entered the season as the fourth best prospect in all of baseball. And when the Cardinals told him, when Ali Marmol told him that he was going to make the club, he said, one thing that impressed us, and the reason that you're here and making it to the majors is because we saw you deal with adversity. You deal with adversity. Then he ran into a little adversity, and you know what happened. And then this year, just having a terrible start, and the Cardinals not able to get him going here at the major league level. So they sent him down to Memphis, and there is no timeline as to when Jordan Walker will return.
There is no timeline. And what you were just talking about there, Randy, I do worry about that, because when you tell a player one thing about how you like how he's able to handle adversity, and then you send him down at any first sign of adversity, that causes a lot of concern. And you worry about what that does to a player mentally, right? We talked about that being one of the biggest things. And Ben Johnson, the manager for the Memphis Redbirds, he spoke yesterday to reporters about Jordan Walker.
With Jordan, it's just about being patient. He's a young man with a lot of talent, and I know that he's going through a lot of emotions right now, and I just gotta, we're all, as a staff, we're just gonna have to pick our spots to make sure that he's comfortable. But with students, they've got to be ready to learn before you can teach them. So we're just going to be patient with Jordan and just make sure he's in a good place mentally, and then we'll give him what he needs.
How do you guys feel about that sound, about what Ben Johnson is saying? Because we heard from Johnson last year, and it's very similar to what he said last year about Jordan Walker just needs to be true to who he is. And it sounds like going down to Memphis is just to get him right, not only with what he needs to do at the plate, but also mentally of, look, this is what got you here. We're just going to get you back to that.
I thought the line about with a student, he has to be ready to learn. It sounds to me like Jordan Walker, and he told the writers, like you said, he wants to be true to himself. Do you think that there's a little bit of pushback on the part of Walker here in regards to what the Cardinals are telling him up here?
A disconnect?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm not ready to give up on Jordan Walker. I don't think anybody is. He's played 137 big league games. In the scheme of things, that's nothing. He'll be 23 next month, I believe. And as we said earlier, he's the fourth youngest major leaguer. I mean, there's a ton of prospects that are down in the minors that are older than him. I do have to wonder about the disconnect, though. Mm-hmm. Why is he not having success? And really, generally speaking, with some of these prospects, why aren't they having success at the major league level? And I do think that that's a legitimate question. I mean, I can go to Nick Plummer, Jake Woodford, Delvin Perez. Dakota Hudson was okay. Where's Dylan Carlson at this point? I mean, there's some names that are out there that were hyped as prospects, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked all the way that you thought it might as they made their progression to the major leagues.
And that's the thing, is that I don't want to do a blame game here. And I know that there's a lot of people who are calling for something to happen when I'm talking about in regards to firing coach. So they're not going to do that in April. But it does make you wonder what the hitting philosophy is surrounding this team currently, because it's not just Jordan Walker. Through this lineup, you're seeing the struggles. I mentioned earlier that they are in the bottom category in Major League Baseball for just about every hitting category. They have only hit 16 home runs as a group this year. Mike Trout, who is Mike Trout, by the way, but he has hit 10 home runs. If we're just doing a comparison of what the difference is right now, they are struggling offensively, and it's just hard to see that your younger players, like a Jordan Walker, are also being brought into this, and where it's a bigger problem, not just him. Of course, he needs to grow as a young player, but it's not just him offensively.
Oh, no, or pitching-wise. I don't think it's unreasonable to say that the Cardinals don't do a good job of developing young talent, really good talent. There's a reason that all of their starting pitching has come from the outside, despite the fact that they've drafted a bunch of it. There's a reason that a guy like Nolan Gorman has regressed, that a guy like Walker has regressed. They haven't performed even the way they did in the minor leagues. You look at a guy like Lane Thomas, who was here and goes to Washington. Last year, Lane Thomas at 268 with a 783. The Cardinals gave up on Lane Thomas, sent him to Washington in the Lester deal. And obviously we all know about Arozarena and Garcia. The two leaders in Major League Baseball in each league in RBIs are Marcell Ozuna in the National League, Adolis Garcia in the American League, who didn't perform here the way they are performing with other franchises. What else can it be aside from their ability to develop not only young talent, but make talent better?
So is the philosophy one size fits all? I keep going back to that. And instead of working on a particular skill set with the individual to advance what they bring to the table, is it one size fits all? And if it is, then I don't think that's the way that you want to go.
No. Yeah. And to answer the question at the beginning of this, I would say yes. Based upon the way, when we look at the top 5 prospects from last year going into 2023, the way the other 4 are performing as opposed to Jordan Walker, I would say yes. It would appear one of two things has occurred. Either he isn't what everybody expected, which I don't think anybody agrees with, or he's been mishandled.
Your first rounders have to thrive. As Greg Amsinger said earlier, I 100% agree with that. You have to put them in positions where they can thrive and continue to develop them. You can't just let them go by the wayside, especially when you have so many examples of that happening in the organization currently.
I have no issue with sending him down either. He had to. I know some people say let him fight through it here at the major league level. I didn't see anything that would give you, a reason to keep him here if he keeps struggling. No. He is struggling mightily. It's one thing to go into a slump. this is a really poor start to his season. I think you had to send him down.
Right. He's got talent. There's no doubt about it. And maybe maybe he will advance more at the minor league level. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, the city coach, Bradley Carnell, is going to join us. By the way, we're going to come back to this topic at 8:45 here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac on this Thursday morning. I want to tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things. Hey, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He will help you every step of the way. He has been helping 101 ESPN listeners for a long time. So if it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he will get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days. He will get you the best interest rate possible, and he also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. So what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewart is your guy. He makes it so easy for you. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Call him directly. Now, this is his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Grimsley, Danny Mack, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN, and we get a chance to visit with one of our favorites. Bradley Carnell is the head coach of St. Louis City SC and joins us on the Celebrity Line this morning. Good morning, Coach. How you doing?
Very good, and you? Good to be back on the show.
We enjoy having you as always, and obviously you like to come away with victories, and you don't like to lose games. But do the draws ever get to you when you have opportunities to win? Do the draws ever get to you, Coach, or do you say, "Okay, glad we got the points"?
Yeah, I mean, you always look at it out of two different eyes, and you try and be as positive as you want to be, and proud of the boys that the performance they put out and the type of resilience that the team is showing so early on in the season. But deep down, for sure, we all want to win games. We're in this competition to win games and get 3 points, and obviously, living off of the feelings and emotions of last season, and then when when you really have to fight for every point this season around, it just shows that the league has grown. Things are competitive. There's a lot on the line early on, and it's you have really intense games like the Galaxy game, for example, a couple early on in March. I thought that that was a playoff field type of thing, So there's been a couple of games that have shown real intent very early on, and teams are very serious.
Coach, you've had several players return to training yesterday, including Sam Adeniran, and you've been very candid about your expectations with Sam Adeniran, and he returned to practice yesterday. What are you expecting to see out of him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we just look for a guy who's connected with the team and doing everything for the team and his teammates. So, Sam and I, we've had a good conversation, and, we've put that behind us and we're moving forwards. And, everyone has equal opportunity now to make a case for themselves. And, the more players we have, the more competitive our roster is. So, we don't have a very big roster at the minute. So anyways, So, yeah, again, we embrace every competition on the training field.
Coach, how much have you seen Klauss's demeanor change over the last 10 days? Goals in now 2 straight games.
Give me your take, and I'll give you mine.
Well, he looks intense, and if you look at any of the plays that he had on the pitch the other day, he's playing with a edge to him. I guess that would probably be the best way to put it.
I 100% agree. And the things you don't get to see, unfortunately, on the training days is just the amount of work he puts in. And that's what defines him. And we always said the harder you work, the luckier you're going to get. And the more times you put yourself in these spots, it's just a matter of time. So, it's very easy for a striker to go through a spell and be despondent and be negative. But Klauss has never been that. He's always been supportive. He's always been encouraging, and his teammates have encouraged him. And you can just see the love that he gets from all his teammates when he finally gets those moments going his way. So, we're all encouraged. But, we have to have the feeling that he's just getting started now, and we have to fully support him and help him even more in these moments where he's getting 1 or 2 goals. So, yeah, we just enjoying this process with him. We know he's a good player. We know he's a guy we rely on, not just because he's on the ball qualities. You can see his off the ball qualities, and I can't speak about them enough because, we defend from the front and he initiates our press. And when he gets it right, we're very difficult to play against. And then when we transition, then we're very difficult to play against as well.
Bradley, you used the word despondent there to describe how he was early in the season. From a coaching perspective, how do you approach somebody who is despondent over being snake bit or just not having the success that they're used to?
I think just very calm, and you don't want to put unnecessary pressure on a striker, especially when you know their caliber and their ceiling. You don't want to state the obvious. That's very easy from the outside point of view. You don't want to be the Monday morning quarterbacks. You don't want to show him the things that he already knows and understands. But how can you assist him and aid him and help him along his way and keep him positive and keep the fire burning? It's very easy as a coach to also then have negative flurries or moments where you have self-expectation or it should be very easily attainable, because in the eyes of a coach, things always look easy. So to be calm on my side and to be forgiving and just to make sure that the players are understanding what the roles and objectives are and, what needs to be done. So I think everyone's done a really good job. Again, this is just the start of the season. We still have a long ways to go.
Coach, what's the goals for this weekend scrimmage? What are you trying to get out of it?
Yeah, listen, I mean, we've had a look at a couple of games now and just trying to obviously have one eye on Houston and one eye on doing what we continue to want to grow at. And that means, what is our with the ball scenarios looking like? We're having more of the ball lately, so can we find ways to be more dominant in the final third? I think we've had a very, very good I would say growing curve at the moment to show relative data where we have grown. I think we can still grow even more because, listen, we like to dictate terms on both sides of the play, with the ball and without the ball. And then, again, just sticking to our principles, who we are, the counter press, the front foot defending. And then, obviously, how can we do this all in the picture of what Houston might give us?
Do you feel like Nicholas Dewar is starting to find his role and get comfortable in the squad?
Yes, if you see him away from the field of play in the sort of lounge area, playing ping pong with the guys, and just having a good time, he's fully integrated. He's fully in. He's having a great time here in America, and he's really enjoying the process. So I think credit to Anthony Marcanic. When you have two good outside backs. And then it becomes a real competition. So, and Nicholas has taken on the challenge to push Anthony all the way, and I can see him slowly feeling the system. I can see him, seeing the moment and getting the benefit of why we do things and how we do things. So then, which aids and assists him to be more confident in the application, and then he can get more game time. So, I think he's on a good curve, and then putting some good pressure on Anthony.
Hey, Bradley, one other thing before we let you go. As a veteran of MLS, New England is going to get 64,000 in the house for Messi this weekend. In Kansas City at Arrowhead, Miami drew 72,000. From your perspective as a veteran of the league, what has Messi meant for MLS?
Well, I think when you bring a world star player and Ballon d'Or multiple-time winner, and he's still performing, I think that's a massive gain for the league. I think the times past when you had players who had played at a high caliber but were almost at the end of it, coming here and having little, to not real impact, right? So I fully embrace it. I sit and observe and learn every time with his movements, and I think everyone can witness greatness before our eyes. So I think it's a massive statement for the league to have a caliber type of player like Messi. It's nice to watch on the Saturdays that we're not involved. But looking at the calendar now, we have a month and a bit to go before we face them. So we can have a lot of learning moments to see how we're going to go and create a game plan against Messi.
Yeah, you need a pretty good game plan against him. Bradley Carnell, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the scrimmage this weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Have
a good day.
You too. Take care. Bradley Carnell, head coach of St. Louis City SC. Messi, 72,000 at Kansas City a couple of weeks ago, and now 64,000 expected this weekend. It'll be the fourth largest crowd in MLS history, the last two of them for Messi.
If and when he comes to St. Louis, would you put that game at Busch?
You have to.
I think you have to, too.
I think that'd be a really good idea just to fit everybody in there. Now, City Park is so exciting, but it would be so hard to get a ticket to get in there.
That's the thing. You could set up soccer, I would think, for 44,000, double what you can get at City Park, right?
Oh, yeah. They had the national team come through, both men and women's, and they were able to set it up. And it was obviously something where the guys wouldn't get hurt, or the girls, they had enough space to make it. It worked for the pitch. Put it that way. So it would be great. I mean, that place would sell out, and you'd have just, you'd probably get, 60,000 in there maybe.
Yeah.
Into Busch if you added seating. I don't know if you can, but it'd be fun to see.
And I'm trying to think, because the two seasons are concurrent, basically, unless it's a late season game for MLS. So the leagues would have to work together, right? MLS and Major League Baseball would have to work together to make that work, too.
And they do it with concerts.
Yeah.
And that gets torn up a little bit, so they make it work.
Right.
They could handle it.
Yeah, I'm laughing because the Cubs used to schedule concerts in October.
Right.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah. Billy Finley does a great job. He is the head groundskeeper down at Busch, and makes it beautiful, makes it fair for the players, and that's all you're asking.
They're amazing. Thanks to Bradley Carnell for joining us. Coming up, Dan is back. The Hall of Famer
is
back to join us. Hall of Famer Dan.
Oh, and the other Dan.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday win their series over the Diamondbacks with a 5-1 victory. Kyle Gibson with the start lets one up early, but he goes 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, that one earned run, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts to get his second win of his Cardinals career. Cardinals will face off against the New York Mets with the series starting on Friday evening with a 6:10 first pitch. And last night in the NHL Playoffs, the Bruins take a 2-1 lead in their series. VGK a dominating 2-0 lead over the Stars, and the Kings surprising the Oilers in overtime, tying that series at 1 game apiece. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Danny, Mac, and Rocc here, and we welcome back our Hall of Famer, Dan. Dan, how are you feeling today?
Pretty good.
You're feeling really good today.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, I guess I'm a Hall of Famer now.
Have you had a lot of family and friends get together? Any kind of celebrations?
No, we're planning something big this weekend.
Because of this?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I feel like you should. You can celebrate. You can celebrate Dan. Maybe even like a T-shirt.
I don't have any friends, so, you know.
Oh. Well, you seem like a really likable guy, though. You have friends here on the opening drive, okay?
Hey, all right. You guys busy this weekend?
Yeah, I'm busy. We're a little busy. We'll hang out with you and support you and celebrate you.
We'll see what happens today first.
Exactly. Right. Now, just a reminder, since you are a Hall of Famer now, you go Randy style. So you are not getting any of the options except for one. Yes. Except for one time you can get the options, okay?
You got it.
All right, question number 1, Hall of Famer Dan. Yankees manager Billy Martin famously had 5 different stints at the as the Yankees manager, but in between those 5 stints, he only managed for one other team. Which American League squad was it? Was it the Tigers, the Mariners, or the A's?
You just gave the options.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
I'm so sorry. I just screwed it up.
That's all right.
I'm not used to doing that. We haven't had a Hall of Famer in so long.
That's a host mulligan, so you can call for the options for another question later on. We won't pigeonhole you to just this question.
I'm sorry.
Well, I knew the answer. So it's all right.
I actually heard you saying it. Yeah, I actually heard you coming out saying it, so we're all good. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Question 2. The Kansas City Scouts eventually became the New Jersey Devils, but not before spending 7 seasons playing under what name?
I'll have to take the options on that one.
Okay, so here are the options. Minnesota North Stars, Colorado Rockies, the California Golden Seals.
I think it's the North Stars. Final answer.
All right, on to question 3.
Question 3, and I will not screw this up. Please, nobody kill me on the text line. Anyways, who is the last Mizzou Tiger to be taken in the first round of the NFL Draft?
Wasn't it last what?
Last Mizzou Tiger to be taken in the first round of the NFL Draft.
Oh, jeez. What's his name? I can't think. Daniel? Not Daniels. I can't think of the guy's name. Pass. Next.
All right, not even a guess?
Case Daniels? I think it's Daniels.
Okay.
I'm not. I think that's. I don't think I'm saying his name right, but.
All right.
Case Daniels.
Okay.
Case Daniels. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you. I will. Which player holds the MLB record for Silver Sluggers with 12?
Oh, he's big on these Silver Sluggers, isn't he? Yeah. I'll go Barry Bonds.
All right. Let me go grab Randall. How you feeling, Dan?
same as always.
Just
a little inside baseball. I found a thread of questions that I had never asked before, and after 2 years of this, I'm digging deep to find stuff. So when I find something that's actually kind of surface level that I've never used before, I'm going to go to the well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I should have just researched all that last night.
That one Wikipedia page.
Yeah, right.
And Randy is back in the studio. Say hi to Hall of Famer Dan.
Dan,
again.
Hall of Famer, how you doing, man? Did you change your autograph yet?
I'm working on it.
Okay, good. Yeah, Dan, HOF 2024. Pretty cool.
There you go. Randy, are you ready for question number 1?
I'm ready.
Yankees manager Billy Martin famously had 5 different stints as the Yankees manager, but in between those 5 stints, he only managed for one other team. Which American League squad was it?
Well, he had Billy Ball with the Athletics in the 1980s. The other teams that he managed were Texas and Detroit. And Minnesota, but they were not within that time frame that he managed the Yankees. I think it was Billy Ball because he came back to the Yankees in the mid 80s.
Is that your final answer?
I'm going to go with the Oakland Athletics. Yes.
The Kansas City Scouts eventually became the New Jersey Devils, but not before spending 7 seasons playing under what name?
The Kansas City Scouts, who became the New Jersey Devils, who were the Colorado Rockies in between. Rob Ramage played for them. I will go with the Colorado Rockies.
Question 3, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Who is the last Mizzou Tiger to be taken in the first round of the NFL Draft?
M-I-Z.
Z-O-U.
There you go. We definitely would have had a defensive lineman after Macklin. Charles Harris was a first-round pick. I think Bolton went in the second round. I think just it seems like we had that defensive end of Coney Ely that wasn't. I don't think he was a first-rounder though. I'll do the lifeline here, Brooke, just so that I can make sure.
Okay. Charles Harris, Sheldon Richardson, or Nick Bolton?
Okay, Bolton was a second. Sheldon Richardson or Harris, who came first? I'm going to say that Sheldon Richardson was faster.
So that's your answer?
No. He would have gone first. So I'm going to say I'm going to go with Charles Harris.
All right.
I cannot.
147.
Okay. All right.
Question 4. Are you ready, Randall?
Ready.
Which player holds the MLB record for Silver Sluggers with 12?
12 Silver Sluggers for one player? It's amazing. I don't think it's Albert. I think Albert would have to be in the mix. Maybe Miguel Cabrera. There weren't many first basemen that were better than Miggy over the course of his time with the Tigers. See, they changed it now with the outfielders. So, let's see. Trout hasn't been around long enough, and he doesn't have 12. Maybe Bonds had a dozen cousin. Probably not, though. You know, Bonds only hit 50 home runs in a season one time. I think I'm trying to think of if there was another first baseman. Yeah, there was in the American League. Let me just run around teams here just knock it around a little bit. Best hitters in the history of the game.
Just knock it around a little bit.
You know what I'll do?
What are you going to do?
Let's see, 2019. Oh man, there's a couple of guys. I'm gonna roll the dice on A-Rod here.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Matthew, do your thing, please.
We do not have a tiebreaker today. We have an outright winner in today's fight. Does Dan, as a Hall of Famer, pull off another victory, or does Randy Carricker stop the run at 3? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby. I'm so sorry, Dan. He just barely got you. He beat you 3-2 today.
Wow, okay.
Yep, it was the Mizzou Tigers question that got you, and I apologize for that. Let's go through the questions and the answers. Yankees manager Billy Martin famously had 5 different stints as the Yankees manager, but it was, in fact, with the A's right there in the middle where he actually coached multiple seasons for them between his return to the Yankees. The Kansas City Scouts eventually became the New Jersey Devils, but between that, they became the Colorado Rockies for 7 years before eventually jumping to New Jersey. It was, in fact, Charles Harris, the defensive end, who is the last Missouri Tiger to be taken in the first round of the NFL Draft. And Alex Rodriguez is tied for second with Mike Piazza with 10. It is, in fact, Barry Bonds, the only person who gets the dozen cousin, as Randy Carricker called it.
It's
so he
a
just
dozen cousin.
barely beats you out, Danny. Thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show the last 3 days. You, of course, will always be in the fight lore as a Hall of Famer forever. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Welcome to the
Thanks,
club.
Dan.
That's a team you can't get cut from.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Dan, and good luck finding friends. He said he didn't have any friends. I asked him, are you going to celebrate? You got any big parties planned? And he said, not really. I don't have any friends.
I'm friends with him now.
Yeah. And I said, well, he's a friend of the show.
Yeah.
So
We're all friends with him.
Yeah. Hello, friends.
Hello, friends. Jim Nance. Jim Nance is his friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
we
Friends
go.
of all of us.
Yeah. So there's the fight on 101 ESPN. Coming up, more on Jordan Walker. And there's an alarming statistic about the Cardinals that you're going to hear next on 101 ESPN. Walker down to Memphis yesterday. Zack Thompson also sent down. John King is back to replace Thompson. And Jose Fermin is back to take the roster spot that was filled by Jordan Walker. And we want your texts if you have a mic drop. We'd love to hear from you with the mic drop feature on 101 ESPN as well. But there is more to the Jordan Walker story. And we were talking earlier, guys, about how he told the media there, he said, I need to listen to what they say, but I also need to be true to myself. I wonder what applies more here. I wonder if he has kind of subjugated himself, doesn't sound like it, to do exactly what the Cardinals are asking him to do.
Well, I'd be curious what they're asking him to do, because there is a reason that he was able to make it to the major league level in the first place. Is sometimes you just had to let that happen with the progression, of course, of growing as a player and things that he might need to do. But right now what you're seeing is regression. Now, Dan, I know that you're saying that you understand why he's sent down, and I do too, because he hasn't been performing well. But overall, this whole lineup hasn't been performing well. So it's kind of tough to see that one young player is being singled out in this manner, and especially everything we've seen with Jordan Walker, where you say that he handles adversity well, but the moment he hits adversity, instead of having, I would assume, your best coaches here at the major league level working with him, you send him down to the minors.
But I think the big thing here, and we've talked about this a lot, it seems to be about the process. It's about the 50% ground ball rate. It's the lower fly ball rate. It's getting more loft in the swing. It's pitch recognition, his posture at the plate. There's a lot of things that Oli Marmol talked to the media about yesterday. They just don't like the way things look. In addition to the performance, by the way.
Yeah, and going back to your original point, I think he's saying at some point this is my career too. You know, this is my career, and I'm listening as much as I can, but I got here because I did certain things on my own. Had no problem with him getting sit down. He was hitting 155, no home runs, and one extra base hit in 20 games. This is the major leagues. You either do or you don't. And to your point, Brooke, about others in this lineup not performing, let me give you this. Michael Ciani has the highest OPS at Busch Stadium this year.
Wow.
Really?
The highest OPS. I mean, of all the different players that you talk about. So it's not only Jordan Walker. It's collectively a unit that just has not been hitting. Goldie's strikeout rate now is 30%. There are 5 hitting under 230. So, you know, Walker's going to get a lot of the attention, in at least this morning, because he's been sent down. But really, you needed some kind of production out of your outfield. You're getting very limited production out of your outfield, if at all, and that has to be frustrating when you're counting on this team to slug a little bit and they're not. It's got to be frustrating for the front office. It's got to be frustrating for the coaching staff.
And the thing is that I understand with young players, and a lot of people say, oh, look, you know, with any athlete, they're making money. So dealing with pressure, it comes to the job. It's what you signed up for. But I do worry about how they've handled Jordan Walker over the years, not just this season. I'm talking about over the years and how they handled his situation. Zack Thompson, him getting sent down, that really concerns me, because last year, John Mozeliak even admitted that the handling of Zack Thompson was not the best last season, because we saw him jerked around. He was a starter, then he was in a bullpen, and then they kept moving him around so much. And I worry about Zack Thompson and his regression as well, because as Greg said, your first rounders, they do have to thrive. And when you don't see that happening to not just one player, but now multiple players, that brings up a big concern about player development with the Cardinals.
I think you have to wonder, what's the disconnect? It's, you know, you're getting these guys up and they've had pretty successful drafts. Are they overhyped, the prospects? Not according to other people that are even outside the organization.
Baseball America, Keith Law, Jim Bowden. Bowden loves Jordan Walker's talent.
Yeah. Are you rushing kids? Maybe that's part of the process, because you have to justify the high picks and the money that you spend on them. Are you rushing them? Do you overhype them? You know, was the transition to right field an issue for Jordan Walker? Maybe that's something that goes into this. But the disconnect right now, I keep saying this, it's not one size fits all. And I don't know if that's what's going on here, but I'd have to ask that question.
And I find this to be an alarming line from John Denton's story at MLB.com. Oli Marmol said Walker will spend the next couple of days working on retooling his swing before getting into games with AAA Memphis. If you have the 4th best prospect in baseball, and in his second year, you need to retool his swing, that is a red flag for me. That's an alarm bell. There's a couple of things. Number one,
they tried it last year too.
And why wasn't this taken care of at A ball and double A would be my first question. And number two, I get that they want him to deal with less pressure, but in theory, shouldn't your best coaches be the guys at the major league level? The people that can retool the swing and get him to do what you want him to do at the major league level? Shouldn't Turner Ward and the staff here be the best guys for that job rather than the guys at AAA? I'm just asking.
100%. I'm 100% in agreement with you. And we've also heard past legendary managers say that before, including Tony Russo, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I'd be concerned about is that you have to hit on your first-round picks. Mm-hmm. And Thompson was a first-rounder in 2019. Mm-hmm. Walker was the 21st overall pick in his draft class. So you got to hit on these guys, and when you don't, that is a frustrating aspect for this organization and for the fan base.
Now, we have mentioned, and it can't be stressed enough, that Jordan Walker is not the only guy that's struggling here. Paul Hembakaitis of ESPN, he's their chief researcher, and he does a podcast with Buster Olney. And they were talking about the Cardinals yesterday on the Hembo and Buster podcast. And I mentioned before the break an alarming Cardinals statistic. Here it is.
I've got some really loud numbers when it comes to why they're one of the worst lineups in baseball right now. They can't hit the fastball. This is a team that cannot handle velocity. It's a 347 slug against fastball and a 105 isolated power. Both of those ranked 29th. This is a crazy statistic, by the way, and one that's very predictive when it comes to modern-day offenses. They've seen 542 pitches through 95 plus. They swung at 243 of them. They've put 79 of them in play. And they've got 2 extra base hits. The St. Louis Cardinals, as a team, in the first 3 weeks of the season, have 2 extra base hits on pitches thrown 95 plus. Lars Nootbaar is the only player in the order with a positive run value against the four-seam fastball. This team cannot hit velocity, and unfortunately, this is the worst time in the history of baseball to have built a lineup that cannot hit velocity. And I think Paul Goldschmidt is probably the microcosm here of the lineup. We've seen enormous regression with him. If he does not turn it around and turn it around quickly, I think this team is in big trouble.
So again, 542 pitches of 95 plus. They've swung at 279 of them, and they have 2 extra base hits.
And it's elevated, too. Mm-hmm. I got to wonder about pitch selection with the guys at the plate, but I've noticed that teams are, and this is how you're going to get guys out. Like Norman Gorman is a perfect example with a four-seam fastball that's up. That's how they're going to get him out and up in the zone. Goldie's 36. Is he having issues catching up with the fastball? That could be something that you look at. But when the pitch selection is up and it's fastballs, you're going to have a real hard time catching up with that. By the way, I think it's interesting. If they go to an automatic strike zone and truly go to the letter of the law to see the birds on the bat, say that's part of the strike zone, man, you're going to have a lot of guys striking out in Major League Baseball. The philosophy will change where you want to stay down on the zone, maybe get ground balls, get guys to chase. It's going to be four-seamers all day up in the zone.
I want to see that. I want to see more people swinging the bat.
Yeah.
That's very concerning because we were talking about it with Jordan Walker. Of course, that's one thing. But when it's your entire lineup that is struggling right now, that is a cause for concern because it's a trend. From the 3 and 4, when will we stop blaming the organization and just ask the players to perform? Of course, the players have to execute. Nobody isn't saying that. But there's an alarming trend that is going on that has to be addressed, and that's what we're talking about.
And one of two things is at play here. Either the organization isn't getting players that are capable of doing it, or they have players that are capable of doing it and they aren't able to train those players.
Or philosophy, yeah.
Either way, it comes back to the organization.
And to the point of what he was saying, I still go back to this. Are we talking about this if Goldie and Arenado are hitting? If those guys are driving the ball, especially Goldschmidt, and getting you more production from those spots, I think then the microscope that they're under is lessened a bit because you're counting on those guys to be premier players.
And I will say this with the preface that I know nothing about hitting. Nothing at all. But I've always thought that the way that Goldie holds his bat, when you have bat speed when you're a kid and your bat is behind your neck, you can get it into the zone quicker. Now, I would think at 36, your hands slow down a little bit, and you don't have that speed to the zone that he used to have. I wonder if that's affecting him. Is it the way his batting stance?
And you cheat. I mean, that's the other thing. You start to guess as you get a little bit older because the bat is not as quick. Your hands aren't as quick, and sometimes you cheat, and when you do, you guess wrong.
Yeah. So, again, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot at play with the struggles of the Cardinal offense, but it is throughout the lineup. It's not just the guy they sent down. It's not just Goldschmidt and Arenado. The only guy that I really say, okay, he's doing good and has exceeded or met expectations. The only guy who's made some win.
And he's played well.
Yeah.
He's played really well defensively, offensively. And it's worth the conversation of moving him up in the lineup. I get that. You're at sometimes watching these games, it looks like desperation for offense. When I have a young player that's having success where he's at, I just want to keep him there. I want him to have success in that first year, and we'll see if they move him up. I mean, I'm sure they've talked about it. It's got to be an option at this point.
At this point, you have to try anything. And if he's doing well, that seems like a great idea. And just kind of going back to the point of you have to let these young players thrive, and you have to continue to develop them. Payroll. We've talked a lot about payroll and spending and smart spending. That's going to cost a lot more money if you're not able to develop these guys, and you're going to have to go out and get talent down the road.
Right.
One of the other players is Herrera. 2 years ago he looked lost, and now he's starting to develop into a better player. So there, on the flip side, there's some guys that you look at and you say, okay, we can hang our hat on this guy, hang our hat on Mason Wynn. They've got some talent that's coming. So time will tell on some of these players.
I sure hope that we don't reach a point that a week down the road we say, we're putting Wilson Contreras on the IL with a bad hand.
Which could happen.
Yeah. It happened, 10 days ago?
Yeah. Yep.
So, by the way, Herrera, and I love him too, Danny.
Yeah.
He's on to 216 now.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I like the start. Don't like what's happening recently.
Yeah. And I love the kid, and I think I've said that I had to take it or leave it that by August 1st he would be the Cardinals' #1 catcher. But the fact of the matter is he's slumping a little bit.
Yeah, he is. He's not the only one, man. This offense has got to get going.
The whole thing. Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN.
No Cardinals game tonight, which means you got to change things up. You got to put in a little bit of a different entry with our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, they have their Pick'em product live in Missouri. Pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams. Select your entry fee. Select the stat projections for the players, higher or lower. You're going to be entered alongside other underdogs. Don't worry about that. You hit your entries, you're walking away with some winnings again. No Cardinals game tonight, but don't worry, plenty of NBA basketball. That's where I'm going to be putting my entries in. Let's go to what the game I'm definitely going to be watching tonight. Shocker, shocker here. It's the Lakers and the Nuggets, the game I'm going to be watching. Nikola Jokic continues to dominate, but the numbers have gotten huge for him. So we're going to go lower on 50.5 points plus rebounds plus assists for Nikola Jokic. On the other side, the Lakers desperate for a win. LeBron's going to come to play. We're going to go higher than 42.5 on LeBron's points, rebounds, and assists. And then Jamal Murray, the killer from the last game-winning shot. We're going to go higher than 23.5 points for Jamal Murray. That's how we put together our entry there on Underdog Fantasy. And if you don't want to do NBA, you can put together anything. Baseball, they have it going right now. NHL hockey, also when golf gets going, obviously it's Thursday, so there's a golf for you to put in an entry as well. Anything on Underdog Fantasy. It's super easy to play and even easier to get started. You just go to their easy-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick of entry. Right now, those three are going to get you 6x, but if you add in that mystery special pick, you're going to bump it up to about 10x. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code ROCC to get your first deposit of $10 more, up to $100 matched plus that special pick. Must be 18 plus in present state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncbgambling.org.
You know, he's a great kid, man, and, you know, it's sad to see him go. You know, I didn't know, obviously, until I got here, I didn't realize what happened, and, you know, it stinks. You know, you don't want to see people get sent down, and, you know, Walk's been working in the cage, and he's trying to figure it out, and it's unfortunate it hasn't really, like, the work hasn't paid off in the game yet, you know, and like I said, that's kind of been everybody so far this year, but, you know, we'll miss him. I know he'll get right, and we need him, you know, and if there's one message that I don't know what they told him, but if there's one message we can send him is that we need him, and hopefully he gets right and we can make a good run.
And hopefully the Cardinals will be able to glean the obvious considerable talent out of Jordan Walker. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN 906. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke, Dan, Randy, and Matthew. One thing about Jordan Walker. Yes, he was hitting 155. But anybody who's watched baseball for any amount of time recognizes that Jordan Walker has tools. He's got great bat-to-ball skills. If you watch him play, he's got power. He's got a good throwing arm. I think he'll wind up being a good outfielder. I think he'll be able to field, and he can run. He's got baseball skills that need to be refined properly.
I love what Arenado said, though. We need him. Boy, that's a statement for me when a veteran says that about a young kid, that they are counting on him. And I think when you look at the Cardinals start, outside of goalie Arenado, Donovan's had his issues. You look at Jordan Walker, really the outfield as a whole and lack of production. You know, if those three, and I know it's what it could have, should have, but if those three are hitting, this is a different team. This is a different story. I mean, they have to generate runs with slug. And if he's not hitting the ball, then this team is going to go nowhere.
This team would be a totally different story if you had Goldie and Arenado doing what you would expect out of him. And Arenado has been doing well. He's been hitting well. But the lack of home runs is something that is very surprising to me about the Cardinals this season, because they only have, I believe it's 16 currently right now, which puts them near the bottom of the league in that category.
I thought yesterday was kind of an example of how they're going to have to generate some runs when they're not hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Bottom of the 6th, single by Donovan. Contreras with a double, so you like that. Arenado is single to tie it up. A wild pitch to Goldie, another run scores, and a good start out of Gibson. Gibson, we mentioned this in our first segment, has given the Cardinals basically what they thought, at least from my perspective. I mean, this is what he's going to give you at this stage in his career. But 31 innings this year, 25 hits, 15 earned, walked 11, he struck out 20, and it's a 4.35 ERA. Yeah, I'd sign up for that. That's pretty much what he's giving you innings.
And then he's a friend of the show, too.
Oh, are you saying that maybe it was the opening drive bump, Randy, that worked out? Yes. I was a little bit worried in the first inning, but he was able to pitch out of that first inning jam. And then he went on to do exactly what you said, Dan, what you're looking out of him. And the bullpen, that trio of JoJo Romero, Andrew Kittredge, and Ryan Helsley is a force. I mean, that is a very lethal trio you have. And Helsley pitching in the ninth, even though it wasn't a safe situation for him, which I thought was notable.
If you didn't have the bullpen, man, where would you be?
You'd be in worse than last place.
Yeah, it'd be nasty right now.
By the way, can I go a little sunshine lollipops on you?
Sure.
So our friend Keith Hernandez, who came up to the Cardinals in
multiple times.
Yep. 1974, he came up in September. They sent him down hitting .203 with a sub-600 OPS on June 3rd of 1975. He spends July and August in the minors, comes back in September, hits .350 with an .868 OPS, and then all of a sudden he was Keith Hernandez. And sometimes it does take a couple of months of adjustment just to figure it out. And Keith talked about that. He wrote about it in his book. And that's during that time period. You aren't old enough to remember when they were going to trade him for Willie Montanez. Do you remember that?
I remember that, yeah.
During that stretch of that 2 months, the Giants were going to trade him here. Keith's from San Francisco, and the Cardinals were going to trade him for Willie Montanez. And I think the Giants actually backed out, and Keith was an MVP 3 years later. So sometimes you just have to be very, very careful with what you're doing with young players.
And very patient.
Yep.
I mean, this is a situation where the Cardinals clearly are not giving up on him. No one's giving up on him. But when you're hitting 150 and the team is struggling offensively, you need some kind of jump, and you need to get him right. And the other thing is you can't let him get buried at the major league level. I'd be very concerned about that, where there's frustration where he's saying, okay, I get sent down last year. Here we go again. I get sent down this year. You got to be careful that you don't bury a young player.
And one thing, Dan, in addition to that, you're 100% correct, is that we talk about overhype. And it was Mo who said he's our best prospect since Albert Pujols. At one point he said he's our best prospect since Pujols and Tavares. Then it was he's our best prospect since Pujols. That is a lot of hype, and that's very difficult because when a fan walks in, right, when he walks through those gates at Busch Stadium, he's saying, I'm going to see the Cardinals' best prospect since Albert Pujols. He's really, really good. And if he's not, that is tremendous pressure on a player.
And he's not the only one that was saying that, though. Well, specifically about the Albert Pujols comments, but in general, nationally, Jordan Walker was getting a lot of attention. So I think that that's the thing, is that you do have to be careful with this. That's a great story about Keith Hernandez. I think that the thing I'm more concerned about is the overall trend that you're seeing, where you worry about if they're able to really maximize and develop the players at this level.
Players being the operative word there, because it's not just Walker. Nolan Gorman he had a good series against Arizona. He has had a bad season. We've talked about the guys that the Cardinals either didn't give opportunities to or have not progressed satisfactorily to be a winning team at the major league level. At some point, they're going to have to get their guys going, and we're focusing on young players, but the veteran players now
they have to do their part.
And I know that we talked yesterday, and Dan, you were around it for years. Veteran players and hitting coaches don't necessarily see each other every day.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of know their own way to go about it, and the way that they prepare for games. And there's scouting reports and there's meetings every day. But, you know, the players that are veterans kind of figured it out. There's a reason they have stuck around for a while. And, you know, if you're Jordan Walker, one of the things that Keith Hernandez said, too, that this was my career. And I was going to do some things that I thought would benefit me and to make sure that I was doing the right thing. I'd love to talk to Jordan Walker today and just know where he's at mentally.
That's the thing.
Where are you at right now? Are you okay? I mean, obviously, it's not good that you want to that they're going to send you down and you don't want to be there. But how you doing mentally? And does he take a couple of days off in Memphis? Don't just throw him in there. Get a different set of eyes on him. What are these coaches seeing that maybe? And that's not a shot at the major league staff, because sometimes this happens all across the board where you need to have a different set of eyes and something to work, and maybe they unlock something. That happens all the time, so we'll see. But no one's given up on Jordan Walker just yet.
Yeah, different set of eyes, and also just getting out of the spotlight and the pressure of that a little bit. Of course, the pressure is always going to be there because he wants to get back to the major league level. But I really liked what Ben Johnson said. It seems like he's going to be around a great manager that is going to be able to, one, he dealt with it with him last year, of just getting him back into the right headspace, because he talked about that, about emotionally, it's tough on Jordan Walker right now, and I'm sure that he will be able to get him back on track, and Jordan will get back on track.
What's the disconnect?
Yes.
That's what we need to find out.
Yep.
And that's what they need to find out. They never need to tell us, but we need to have a winning team. They need to find out what the disconnect is. That's the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. It's draft day in the NFL. Coming up, we're going to talk to our buddy Howard Balzer, who was on the scene the first time a draft was televised. That's next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird Report. After going 0-7 in series finales, the Cardinals finally picking up their first win of the season in the final game of a series, beating the Diamondbacks 5-1 yesterday. Kyle Gibson was able to pitch 6 effective innings after pitching out of a first-inning jam. He went on to give up just 1 earned run on 5 hits while walking 2 and striking out 6. The Cardinals took a 2-1 lead in the 6th inning with 1 out. Brendan Donovan singled and Wilson Contreras doubled. Nolan Arenado singled, scored Donovan, and Contreras scored on a wild pitch before Montgomery retired the next 2 hitters. Lars Nootbaar's bases loaded double in the 8th gave the Cardinals a 5-1 lead. The Cardinals will have the day off today before beginning a 6-game road trip to New York and Detroit.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
We're efforting the H-man, Howard Balzer, but Howard's out in the Valley of the Sun now, where it is 7:19. So he probably, let's see, let me make sure that I asked him to come on at, I said 9:15 St. Louis time, 7:15 in Phoenix. Just
But
making sure.
maybe
Just making
we got
sure.
the time mixed up.
It could be. It could be a pretty clear, though, wasn't it? 9:15 our time, 7:15. I thought it was pretty clear. So the NFL draft is tonight. It used to be our thing in St. Louis because we always had top 10 picks, top 11 picks in the NFL draft. And tonight, it appears pretty clear that the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams first. The Commanders have not shown an inclination to trade the second pick. Apparently, the Las Vegas Raiders offered a haul to come up and get number 2, and Washington said, nope, we're going to take a quarterback. So it looks like Jaden Daniels is going to go second overall to Washington. And then all hell breaks loose.
Drake May.
North Carolina quarterback.
Yep, I'm going with the Patriots. Some believe that they'll trade. I don't. They need a quarterback desperately, so I'm going with the QB from North Carolina, and I'm going Drake May.
Okay.
Drake May makes a lot of sense. And then you're saying after that, Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Marvin Harrison Jr. to Arizona.
How many quarterbacks? I know we were kind of making fun of national media earlier, but how many quarterbacks are you guys expecting in the first round?
I would not be surprised if there were 6, because I think McCarthy would probably go in the top 12. And then down the line, Denver's going to need a quarterback. You've got so many teams. Minnesota's going to need a quarterback. So you've got so many teams that are looking for the QB. I think both Nix and Penix wind up going. By the way, there was an interesting piece by Bruce Feldman in The Athletic, quoting anonymously, of course, numerous NFL people that say that Malik Neighbors of LSU is way better than Marvin Harrison Jr.
I beg to differ. I watch a ton of Ohio State. He reminds me of Fitzgerald. He'll be the fit in Arizona. That's where I'm going. All right?
Oh, okay.
I think my Cardinals need to take Malik Neighbors.
You got to go with Marvin Harrison Jr., bro.
Come on. The thing that you can do is trade out, let Minnesota get their quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy?
Yep. Move down to number 11. Then the Chargers will take Marvin Harrison, and you'll still have the opportunity to go and get a receiver at number 11. What do you think of that?
Well, I still think it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. It feels like Arizona needs a difference maker, talent-wise, for Kyler Murray.
So you take the fast guy, right? You take Neighbors.
I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think on this side, we're going Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay, here's a question. Did the Vikings they move up and get the number 5 pick and then get J.J. McCarthy, which would allow him to throw to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, you got T.J. Hawkinson, and insert him in right away?
Yeah, they could do that. And having played for Jim Harbaugh, he's probably among that group of quarterbacks the most NFL ready. And Caleb Williams, when you look at the history with Mayfield and Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams is probably of that group the least NFL ready quarterback.
I got your boy Malik Neighbors. That's your guy. I got him going to the Giants.
Ooh.
So you get a number 1 wide receiver for Daniel Jones. You in on that or not?
I don't know if they keep. I don't know if you go Daniel Jones still. They need a lot of things in New York. Seems like a wide receiver would be a luxury at this point.
I like luxuries. I like the finer things in life.
But you need necessities before you have luxury.
I don't care, Randy. I'm going with a guy that reminds me of Odell Beckham Jr.
Okay.
Oh.
Give me some excitement.
Okay.
It's a Big Apple. Why not?
Fair enough. I guess the other thing is, where do the Mizzou guys go? I think probably Darius Robinson goes in the first round, and I would think Abrams Drain is probably a second rounder, but Ennis Rakestraw should also be a first rounder. 2 Mizzou guys.
You know who I get excited to watch? I told you yesterday Orlando Pace is my favorite Rams draft pick. I like Joe Alt because he's 6'8".
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Joe
to the
Alt.
Tennessee Titans.
You gotta have somebody help Will Levis's blind side. So why not go Joe Alt, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame?
And they also released last year's left tackle with Dillard, so you need that. And also, we saw Will Levis get beat up quite a bit, and Ryan Tannehill as well, which led to the Will Levis start with the Titans. So I like Joe Alt a lot. It's just another year, another offensive tackle. I hope this time it actually works out out for the Titans.
And Notre Dame has turned out good offensive tackles, most notably Stanley with the Baltimore Ravens. But over the years, the right tackle that is in Denver now, who is it, the guy that San Francisco drafted, that the right tackle that was moved from San Francisco to Denver last year? Broncos right tackle.
Yeah, you got it.
He's an Irish guy. But then you've got Alt also being the son of an NFL tackle.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of Byron Murphy?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
New head coach Raheem Morris of
Michael Clinchie, there you go.
Maybe he likes, kind of liking him to Aaron Donald. What do you think?
I would think that'd be intriguing. That's kind of unfair. It's kind of like comparing Jordan Walker to Albert Pujols. When you compare somebody to Aaron Donald, one of the top 3 defensive players in the history of the league. But it's nice to get a defensive tackle.
How about Odunze? Where do you think he goes? What about the Bears?
That's the combination. People have been talking about that for a couple days now. Is them getting Williams and Odunze. I actually think Odunze is the best wide receiver in the class.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay. We've heard Danny. Your thoughts on Marvin Harrison Jr.
I love him.
Yes.
So
would have loved to see him in the Cotton Bowl. By the way, I was excited to see that, and that didn't happen. I just wanted to see it.
Here's the thing with the Bears. Number one, they've lost a lot defensively. And number two, at some point, you're going to have to protect Caleb Williams, aren't you? You've got DJ Moore. You've got the running back.
A couple wide receivers now.
Right. You signed DeAndre Swift. So at some point, I would think sooner rather than later, you better address that offensive line.
If you're the Jets, how about Brock Bowers? Get the tight end from Georgia.
Yeah. I would think that would be a guy that Aaron Rodgers would like. Not the best blocker, not the biggest guy, but certainly the best pass-catching tight end in this draft.
And if you saw what Sam Laporta did, kind of the local kid, you say, well, it worked for Detroit. We can make this kid a Sam Laporta type guy. And you got to have some. If this is it for Aaron Rodgers, let's just, for argument's sake, say it is. Give him the best weapons he possibly can have. So I look in that direction.
And by the way, if you want to build an organization, now they won't do this because of Aaron Rodgers' presence, but the smart thing for the Jets would be to take a quarterback.
How about for the Raiders?
He'll love that.
Would you guys take Michael Penix Jr. if you're the Raiders at 13?
Yeah, that's probably where they have to go.
I mean, we're talking about QBs, potentially 6 in the first round. Penix maybe to Washington. I could see that happening.
And Denver's going to need to get a quarterback, too.
Yeah.
So, ultimately, this will be dominated tonight by 3 positions, all on offense. Quarterback, offensive line, receiver. Those are the 3 positions to look for tonight.
Bo Nix to Denver.
Yep. And
that's where I'm going.
It would have been such a fun draft to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Offensive linemen and quarterbacks. My 2 favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
That would have been so much fun. God.
What about wide receivers, guys like Marvin Harrison Jr.?
You saw yesterday.
Hey, do you want to talk about Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Adam Schefter tweeted out the lowest percentage of hitting a player in the first round. Stay away
wide
from
receivers.
Build the trenches, get your quarterback, figure out your receivers later.
You know what? It's even harder to find, and maybe this is just my experience being a Titans fan, but a good old lineman, that just seems to be such a rarity nowadays to be able to find one that's ready to go right out of college.
How about Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma? He would be a guy that, offensive line-wise, would probably be one of your first-round picks.
I wonder if the Oklahoma O-linemen, though, need more development. Like when you talk, Brooke, about a plug-and-play guy, Notre Dame is a plug-and-play tackle. Oklahoma, because of the offense they ran under Lincoln Riley, where they really don't put their hand in the dirt that much, a little more development necessary. But to the point, if I had a good program going, I'm drafting an offensive or defensive lineman with a premium pick every single year. I'm taking an offensive or defensive lineman in the first 3 rounds every single year. And the other thing I'm doing is taking a quarterback every single year.
Every year?
Every year.
Somebody watched Andy Reid draft over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Look at what the Packers were able to do when they drafted Matt Hasselbeck. They drafted Aaron Brooks. They drafted Mark Brunell. They traded for Favre, but you can always trade a good quarterback. Matt Flynn, you can always trade a quarterback that people perceive as well and build your draft capital that way.
How about Xavier Worthy?
Receiver, I think he's, and depending on what he
ran a 4.21 40.
Depending where Kansas City is with Rashee Rice. And Kansas City is not inclined generally to take receivers in the first round, but Xavier Worthy would be an interesting pick for the Chiefs.
I think he'd be interesting for Buffalo after Stephon Diggs.
They need receiver help too.
We got a text from the 636. Will Cody Schrader be drafted or be a free agent?
He has a chance to be drafted. There's a team that really likes him in the NFC North that just switched back to Honolulu Blue. But he's obviously a Saturday pick if he goes.
Yes.
Otherwise, maybe if he's a free agent, look at did Kansas City ever bring back Edwards-Helaire?
No.
I think Kansas City.
Roster,
Yeah, Kansas City would be an interesting landing spot for a guy like Cody Schrader. He just kind of fits.
The grittiness, size.
Right. Dave Taub, a special teams guy.
Yeah.
He'd be big enough. He doesn't add to their speed tremendously, but I could see that being a good landing spot for a guy like Cody Schrader.
So you think first round for Darius Robinson, and there has been a lot of positive buzz surrounding him.
He's a pass rusher, and the whole game is having a passer, protecting the passer, catching passes from the passer, and getting after the passer. And then, obviously, the corners. But he is a legit pass rusher. So, yes, I think he's late first-round pick, Darius Robinson of Missouri.
Now, you got to pull for a guy named Kool-Aid.
I love Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's one of my favorite players.
Yes.
Alabama corner. Yeah, I just hope he's
Saban-esque type QB.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or cornerback, I should say.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Yep, he's great. So there you have it, the draft tonight here on 101 ESPN, coverage at 6. Tomorrow night, coverage at 5. And then on Saturday, we'll have coverage for you at 11 in the morning for the NFL draft. We will be wall-to-wall here on 101 ESPN.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, sorry we missed out on the H-Man.
I am too.
So maybe we can do it tomorrow. Let's see.
I hope he's sleeping well.
I hope he's
though.
okay.
Oh, Randy.
I mean, he said he was going to be ready. I mean, are you concerned?
I was just talking about, yes, I just hope maybe he's having a restful sleep, not in the way that you're talking about.
Not the Michael Jackson restful sleep.
Okay. All right. What's next, Dan?
We're going to talk about Reggie Bush.
Okay, good.
Oh, transition.
Aren't we going Reggie Bush?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that Michael Jackson. Not the dirt nap, Michael Jackson nap, the other nap before all of that.
Terrible.
I know. True.
Heisman Trust has given Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back. Rules have changed. What about Pete Rose? Should he be eligible for the Hall of Fame? Then we got Rocc and Roll. What are you looking at Rocc and Roll, Rocc? Do you know yet?
I'm aware.
Okay.
I'm aware. What is going on here?
All right.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals are off today before they start a 3-game series in New York. In fact, if you want to tune into the opening drive tomorrow, we'll be talking to Heidi Wadney, who will be part of the broadcast team for the Apple TV broadcast tomorrow at 9:30 here with Randy, Danny, and Brooke. Again, Cardinals yesterday with a big 5-1 win over the Diamondbacks to win that series. Also, last night, NHL Playoffs, the Bruins are up 2-1 after their win over the Maple Leafs. VGK has taken a 2-0 lead over the Stars after their 3-1 win. And the Kings in overtime come back to beat the Oilers 5-4. They tie up that series at 1 game apiece. On 101 ESPN tonight, NFL draft coverage starts at 6 p.m. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Came down yesterday during the show that the Heisman Trust is restoring Reggie Bush's Heisman Trophy. So he'll get his copy back. Another copy will go to the University of Southern California, and he's back in their good graces. Of course, he had a house spot for him back in the day by boosters at USC. Well, now, with NIL and the way the rules have changed and the fact that players can make money, if we went ipso facto, is that what we did? I don't know. But if we go back to the time that Reggie was playing, what he had would have been allowed now. So they've given him his Heisman Trophy back. You guys on board with this?
I am. I also wonder about the Fab Five. Ed Martin had paid those kids over $600,000, and Michigan has taken down the banner. They don't recognize that team, amazingly, to the two of the teams that went to the Final Four and then played in the championship game. I think it may set a precedent. Do you go back and look at games or wins that had been vacated? Do you reinstate them? Do you reinstate the wins? I think that's something that you have to look at if a precedent has been set.
I believe so. For players that were being paid and schools that had wins vacated because of players that were being paid. Yeah. Now we go retroactively and say, you know what, that probably wasn't, because there were probably guys being paid, and now the rules have changed.
Here's the thing. I love the idea that Reggie finally gets it back. It just kind of frustrates me that it took this long for it to happen, because NIL started back in 2021. Why now you think that Reggie Bush was finally able to get his Heisman back? Was it some of the other things that were going on? Because I'm just going to point this out timing-wise. I know that Johnny Manziel doesn't move the needle, but Johnny Manziel has been on a campaign on social media basically continuing to push for Reggie Bush to get his Heisman back, saying that he wouldn't attend anything anymore. And also, Johnny was very open, if you watch that documentary on Netflix, about how he received money. So we know that Reggie Bush was not the only one who benefited prior to NIL. There was many other big name players. So I'm glad he finally got it back. Also, a little PR thing that happened. Randy, I sent this to you. The Heisman Trophy tweeted out about O.J. Simpson and his passing on social media. Yeah. And they got a lot of backlash for that. And then not long after... Oh, Randy. Stop it. But they did get a lot of negative feedback about that. And so it just kind of makes you wonder, why now for Reggie Bush and getting his Heisman back?
Here is the letter that the Heisman Trust set out. The Trust decision to reinstate the trophy follows a deliberative process, I'll say it was deliberative, in which it closely monitored the enormous changes in the college football landscape, including the Supreme Court's 2021 decision, which questioned the legality of the NCAA's amateurism model and opened the door to student-athlete compensation, the ability of college football players to be paid for their name, image, and likeness, and the NCAA's recent proposal to remove the cap on education-related payments, recognizing that the compensation of student-athletes is an accepted practice and appears here to stay. These fundamental changes in athletics led the Trust to decide that now is the right time to return the trophy to Bush, who unquestionably was the most outstanding college football player of 2005. Why did it take so long? That's a good question, but I think they were just being deliberate, and they wanted to make sure that the courts didn't change things back to the way they were.
So is this just an individual one-off, or do you start looking back at vacated wins?
I think the NCAA would be smart to do that, because the Heisman Trust is different than the NCAA. Now, the other question is, does pro sports, now that baseball, Major League Baseball, is completely in bed with legalized gambling, do they take another look at Pete Rose?
And his age and what he means to the game, or do you just put an asterisk by it? I mean, I think that's the age-old bet. Would you do that? How he managed games, though, so this is what I would say, is how he would manage a game if he held out, let's say, a reliever in game 1, knowing that he was going to use him in game 2 or game 3, and how it affected the outcome of that particular game. That would be my one concern. Many, but that would be my major concern with how he managed one game, looking ahead to games 2 and 3. And did that factor into the outcome of those games?
And the problem is we will never know.
You understand what I'm saying?
I totally do. But all we really know is that he bet on his team to win.
So still, did you go, guns a-blazing in that one game where you blew out your bullpen saying, I'm trying to go for this win? And you're right. You're betting on the team to win, but then what it does to set up games 2 and 3 in the series.
I just wonder if looking back now at the way society feels about gambling generally, should that keep the all-time hits leader out of the Hall of Fame?
He should be in. I think the steroid guy should be in. And if you wanted to put an asterisk by it, then go ahead and do that. But it's part of the story of Major League Baseball.
I think that's a great point about the steroid guys, because now it seems a lot of people are looking at that more and saying, yeah, these guys should be able to get in. So if you're letting them in, then I think you do have to reconsider everything with Pete Rose.
I think it's just part of the history of the game.
It is.
And it's part of the storytelling when you walk through Cooperstown. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's not the Hall of Fame of Angels. It's just the Hall of Fame and trying to make sure that you get the story of baseball throughout the halls of walking through that and having an understanding what baseball was all about in particular eras.
And by the way, we should point out that the reason that Rose... well, not the reason, but he was never allowed on the ballot. So the writers never had a chance to vote for him. There's no guarantee that the writers would vote to put him in the Hall of Fame, because we know that they are the keepers of all that's pure with Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame. And you wouldn't want anybody that had ever maybe ingested a steroid, wink, wink, in the Hall of Fame. Anybody that maybe pitched at a high level or played at a high level when they were 45, 46 years old, or got substantially bigger over the course of you wouldn't want those guys in the Hall of Fame.
Do you think McGwire would be upset if, and he's obviously admitted to what took place, you think he'd be upset if they put an asterisk by his plaque to explain what the era was and that he was a part of the era?
I honestly believe, in talking to McGwire a lot, I don't think that it matters to him at this point.
Time has passed.
Yeah.
It seems to still matter for Pete Rose a great deal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Mark admitted to using performance enhancers, even though he doesn't think they helped him. But if you did admit that, then why not agree to having a little plaque underneath that says Mark McGwire admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs?
Yeah, and I'll go back to this. It's part of the history of the game, and I want young kids that walk through there that love baseball to have an understanding of this is an era of the 1920s. Here's what happened in the 40s. Here's the 50s. Now we have some issues in the 80s with Pete Rose. Now we have something going on in the 90s. Just explain the story of baseball.
And you can't tell the story of baseball without Bonds, Clemens, McGwire.
No question about it.
Palmero, that whole gang. This is the opening drive, and we're going to head down the stretch with Rocc and Roll next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. I made 2 really big goals for myself this year, and the MAC is helping me accomplish those goals. One of them was getting into better shape. I already feel like I'm in good shape, but I really wanted to push myself physically, and I go work out twice a week with my personal trainer, Christine. She has been amazing, and she's been like a friend to me, and it's been so much fun working with her. Also, my second goal is getting back into the sport I love, and that is tennis. I've been playing my entire life, but it's been hard to get back into it, and Scott has been helping me out. I'm actually going to go see him today over at the West location, and they always provide such a wonderful experience. It's so much fun going over there all the time, and that's why I love my MAC.
I want to rock. You know, and roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
Time for Rock and Roll. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, one of my favorite really dumb topics right now with the NFL draft. Don't worry, Danny, I'll head you off the pass here. I know all of the topics with the NFL draft are pretty dumb, but this is probably the stupidest one.
I'm ready.
I cut you off there. I got in front of you. Because on ESPN Bet, because ESPN has their own betting platform right now, they had a prop bet up, and it opened a few weeks ago, about a month ago, actually. Odds that the LA Chargers... the LA Chargers would pick a quarterback with their first draft pick. It opened at 100-1. You got Justin Herbert. Seems like a pretty weird decision to take a quarterback in this draft. Well, on Tuesday, it had dropped to a 15-1 odds, and now today, it is at 6-1 odds. Here's the thing. Mike Greenberg. Where'd it go? Sorry. My apologies. Mike Greenberg was asked, brought Adam Schefter onto their show and actually asked Adam Schefter about what he thought about these odds and the changes over the last week. Adam Schefter had a pretty simple answer. Here's how he broke it down.
How would you assess the possibilities of this? I looked into this a month ago, 1 month ago, and asked, could this be? Would anybody in Los Angeles consider taking J.J. McCarthy with Jim Harbaugh, saying he's the best quarterback in this draft, the best quarterback in Michigan history, the best pro day he's ever seen any player have? You couldn't be any more effusive in a player the way that Jim Harbaugh has spoken about J.J. McCarthy. And the way it was told to me a month ago was that no new money in Justin Herbert's contract is kicked in. To trade him would cost them well over $100 million, which would be the largest cap charge in history. You'd be absorbing the largest cap charge in NFL history to trade one of the elite young quarterback talents. Like, it doesn't make sense for as much as you would get back. And I don't understand how those odds have gone up like that. Is this some sort of gimmick? Is this some sort of thing where they're trying to attract people to get some bet? I don't understand it.
I bet ESPN loved that line.
Why did Jim Harbaugh go to the Chargers? He went because of Justin Herbert. And here's the other thing. All due respect to Jim Harbaugh, right? We love him. But is J.J. McCarthy really the best quarterback in Michigan history?
Absolutely not. No. The guy won a championship game completing like 10 of 14 for 86 yards. Get out of here.
Well, they also had a guy named Tom Brady.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that may come to mind.
Was a backup for half of his career.
Yeah.
Well,
amazing. But it is, and Brooke, we mentioned earlier the changing. Last year, somebody put on Reddit that
Will Levis.
Will Levis was going to be the top pick in the draft, and the Vegas odds changed there. How could somebody be so stupid in Vegas? So who's making those odds that would think that the Chargers would take a quarterback with all the needs they have? They traded Keenan Allen. They cut Mike Williams. They don't have receivers. Now, they did keep their pass rushers. They can use some interior line help, and they obviously will have picks later. But they aren't going to use their first-round pick on a quarterback.
No.
Who came up with this?
I think it's just more of that it's based off of quotes, and sometimes it just feels like feelings is what moves the needle, because that's what happened with Will Levis. It just took one Reddit post of somebody saying something. I can't remember exactly what was said, and somehow Will Levis just was going to be your top draft pick, which it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And then you had the awkward video of him just sitting around waiting forever and ever. Now, it has worked out for Will Levis, and hopefully he'll be able to continue to grow this year, but that's just weird to me. Maybe it's every once in a while they have to troll everybody. Do you think that's what it is?
I think that's part of it, yeah. Vegas shouldn't be trolling people, but I think that's exactly what's happening.
You guys looking forward to tonight, though, with this?
I am. I'm going to be all over it.
Yeah.
What about NHL hockey and NBA playoffs? Dan?
NHL hockey, yes.
I've got this new thing called a remote control.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
You can flip around.
It's weird. Yeah.
But no, the picks come really fast, though.
Oh, fast. But I've got multiple televisions. I don't have a Cusimano set up, but I have a pretty good TV setup. Doesn't Cus have like 5 screens?
I think so.
Yeah.
But not the recliner he wants.
Really?
Not the recliner he wants?
No, that's always been a big point of consternation.
Oh, man.
I like giving Cus crap about that.
Okay, you want a little pro tip. Recliners? You know who makes awesome furniture is Lazy Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Lazy Boy, they're just awesome. All the furniture that Lazy Boy makes is awesome.
Do you have their reeds, too?
Yeah.
Do you?
I do not. No,
okay.
It's just I have their chair, though.
On this.
I have their chair. I need their reeds.
Yeah, sales staff listening. Lazy Boy for Randall.
You know what starts tomorrow here on 101 ESPN? Massage Envy.
Ooh.
Relaxation. So what you need to do is go get a massage and then go and sit in your Lazy Boy.
So will you flip between picks, or how do you do it?
I'll probably have one TV on the draft and one TV on hockey and or basketball.
Which do you prefer out of the NBA or NHL? I'm an NHL guy.
I am.
Well, like last night, I was enjoying the basketball game, but then I had to go over and watch Vegas and Dallas for a while.
Yeah.
So it depends on the game and what's happening. But tonight we've got Lakers and Nuggets, right?
You're darn right we do.
How exciting.
I hate.
I'm going to be tired tomorrow.
I have to take a shower that I root for the Lakers, but I would. I don't know what I would do if I had to root for the Nuggets.
No, don't talk about it.
I can have a Nuggets fan right in here.
My cognitive dissonance is active right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I don't know why? I don't know why you would hate the Nuggets, and please don't explain why. Please do not explain. No, there's no need to. No.
Get Demoff. Demoff's in charge now.
Yeah.
It's not.
Kroenke owns Demoff in charge.
I can't.
Beautiful thing. And he roots for them.
They took one team away from me. I can't let them take another one. It's not. It's
and
not.
You
it's
root
not
for him.
Fair.
You do. Are you an Arsenal fan as well? I wouldn't be surprised.
No. Let's talk about something good with an owner in football that isn't a monster. Because Josh Harris is doing right by the Washington football franchise. That's because he's given a call to Darryl Green, the man who played 20 years with the Washington franchise. His number is finally being retired.
Yeah, and
Josh Harris.
Former Redskins fans are going to order a number 28 on Josh Harris's Fanatics, and it's going to take them 7 months to get it.
Oh, no. Did you see, by the way, with Nolan Gorman's walk-off winner, he talked to Jim Hayes about how it's basically pink now because his undershirt bled through.
Oh, Jesus.
Terrible.
They're bad.
They're so bad.
There's no other way to say it. They're just bad.
Yeah.
Okay, we have 1 minute here, guys.
Okay.
And we have a question. And if you can text really fast, at 8 o'clock we do this thing called the Fresh Take. It's our hottest take of the day. And it's the only open segment we have for tomorrow's show. So we're going to be lazy radio people, and we're going to let the listeners choose what the fresh take is for tomorrow. The line, by the way, is
what are
open.
the options? You got some options you want to throw out?
Options.
You do have options. I thought that we were going to either do attendance. If you are not attending games currently, because there's obviously low attendance right now with the Cardinals,
we got that.
We'll get you back to Busch Stadium.
But we can do that at 8. Okay, now we've got. Okay, that's.
And then what was the other one? Greg Amsinger.
Yeah.
What he said.
So, but I just made a move.
That's
okay.
what he said.
So sorry, fans, listeners, you've been taken out of the equation by Brooke.
No, that's not what I was saying. I was giving you the 2 options. Because I thought you were going to bring options, so I was giving you the 2 options to bring up to them. Let them decide, please.
No, we do have a. You know what we can do? Let's. We're getting the H-Man on tomorrow, right? Yeah, we're gonna have H-Man's going to join us tomorrow. His alarm didn't go off. Tomorrow we've got a star-studded, guest-laden show. Jay Delsing, Chris May, athletic director at SLU, Jeremy Rutherford, Heidi Watney, the H-Man. So we're good. It's going to be a fun show.
Be loaded up. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes.
Looking forward to that. By the way, the Cardinals on Apple tomorrow.
Oh.
And so that's why Heidi Watney is joining us.
Oh.
So
I'm glad to have Heidi on, but
it'll be good.
Meh on the Apple.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Pleasure.
Daniel.
Pleasure.
Spectacular work.
Oh, yeah.
By the great Danny Mac.
If you got Apple TV to watch the Cardinals games, by the way, just peruse the shows. They're fantastic. The shows on Apple TV, they're fantastic. Give them a look.
Jason Sudeikis.
Obviously, Ted Lasso is fantastic.
Ted Lasso.
The new look, is my opinion, it has Ben Mendelsohn and John Malkovich. Come on, you want to watch John Malkovich? I mean,
is there a better weird, evil guy than John Malkovich?
And he's a good guy in this one. And so is Ben Mendelsohn. It's fantastic. Watch it.
Okay, Sam Mendelsohn?
Ben
Mendelsohn. Okay, good. Mm-hmm. Hey, we got a balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up. And then after that, we've got BK and Ferrario, #1 show in the whole country. And then the Fast Lane from 2 to 6. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, have a great Friday Eve, everyone.
That's right.